You know, there's an old adage in sports. They don't ask how, they ask how many. It's been said so many times before. Tonight was proof positive of it. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers scraped together, dare I say, Zach Schnitzer, a 19-12 win to move to 2-0 and win, sweep the back-to-back against the Ottawa Redblacks. How are you, friend?
I am fine and dandy, buddy. I've been battling a tummy bug, and
This must have made you
luckily,
feel better.
this made me feel better. I was able to eat a banana finally today. The Bombers monkeyed around in the first half, but
That's one way to put it.
Ottawa couldn't put them away. And I know last week, Darren, I was a bit bummed on the Bombers. I thought we were lucky to win. I realized that we still only scored 19 points. But to keep the Red Blacks out of the end zone, buddy,
Yep.
and to make the plays they needed to make at the perfect time, that to me, on a back-to-back on the road against a good coach, a good quarterback who was still throwing dimes, Darren, to win like that on the road impressed the heck out of me, to be honest.
So Zach Collaros hasn't looked spectacular, hasn't looked MOP form this season, but he's getting it done when it matters. He's
Yeah.
finding Greg Ellingson. He's finding Dalton Schoen. He's enough of a threat to keep Ottawa's defense honest, and he's clutch. He's making it happen when it matters. I want to talk about the offense here on Game Day After Dark, and welcome to everybody out there in the live chat, watching live on YouTube and Facebook. Tons of people have hit the Bonfire hotline. It's right there. 204-816-TIPS, 816-8477. Call or text. It's just like texting your mama. Standard message rates apply, as we like to say. And I want to talk about the run game. I want to talk about Zach Collaros. How about Greg Ellingson with touchdowns in back-to-back games? He's got as many touchdowns as he does games in blue and gold, including no preseason games he played. So 2 for 2 for Greg Ellingson. Kind of could say 2 for 3 as he let one touchdown slip through his hands. I want to talk about the spark plug that is Johnny Augustine. What did you see from 27 tonight as he kind of spelled Brady Oliveira late in the game?
I thought, first of all, I do want to give a shout out to Brady Oliveira, Darren. I know that they wrapped him up pretty well in the first half, and Augustine had that big run. He ripped off a 24-yarder in the first half. I thought Oliveira was good, and I liked the change of pace. I liked what they did with the change of pace, and I think it threw Ottawa off balance. They're different runners. And the other thing I loved was, and I know, so here's the thing. People want Johnny Augustine to get more touches. I get that. But I think when you're a defense and you have a guy who runs more of a zone run package up the A or B gap in Oliveira, lowers a shoulder pad, and then you have a slasher and a burner like Augustine, I think that gives you problems. And then you saw when Oliveira, there was a big first down in that second half when Zach was under pressure. He threw back against his body on a screen to Oliveira, which went for about 20 yards. There was a flag, but then it was picked up. And I thought the way that they used both of them was exceptional. And I thought both running backs picked up key blitzes, key blocks on big throws that Zach had to make. And that's where we were wondering, because I think we knew the talent was there with the running backs, Darren. But could they pick up the blocking scheme?
Right.
Those
Protection's
two
key. Like Andrew Harris was so good at it, right? So good.
Massive. So I was super impressed with our running back. And credit to Buck Pierce, because armchair quarterbacks like me always want to abandon the run. But he kept with the run, Darren, and it worked. And they pulled out. They had two huge, long clock gobbling drives, as you said once.
Oh man, that was years ago.
I remember, buddy. I remember.
It's my most famous moment. My most famous moment on TSN.
Loved it, and I still love it. And I'll give you all the credit to rip that game away from Ottawa. And let me just say one more thing, because I know I'm going on a tangent. The turning point of that game for me was that incredible third down stuff by Jackson Jeffcoat ripping the ball away And then you said it. What does Zach Collaros do on the very first play? He rips one 30, 35 yards to Greg Ellingson. Tight window. But he's not like, that's the thing. Collaros, he didn't have an amazing game. He missed a couple throws, especially in the red zone, although one was
He was 68%, 68%, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception.
He had a
2 for
great
228.
Winnipeg Blue Bomber quarterback game, but
Okay.
he comes up
Yeah.
clutch when it matters.
Yeah.
Like, no shade to Matt Nichols. He never would have thrown a corner route backed up like that and hit it perfectly to Greg Ellingson. And the Bomber fans should be excited at this connection between Collaros and Ellingson. I know I'm going Collaros. Anyway, I loved it. I'm really impressed with the team. I have to tell you.
Chat. I'm impressed with the way they're able to just gut out wins, right?
Yep.
And shout out to Sandy who's watching live on YouTube. Take it easy on your remote. Be safe. But yeah, like, you know, I can understand for Bomber fans. I can totally understand the frustration, right? Because you're expecting this team to be so good, so powerful. We saw what Ottawa was last year. They're clearly much improved. I see their physical level of play completely different this season than last. They're just bringing it. They're playing kind of that Blue Bomber style of defense, even on offense, the way they kind of deliver the blow, you know, with their ball carriers. Very impressed with them. You know, some people mentioning Dalton Schoen, maybe, well, they're saying straight up in the live chat tonight that, you know, he's the Blue Bombers' most valuable player so far this season. Not too bad. You know, he had 2 catches on 3 targets, 58 yards, had one for 31, picked up a couple second downs, which were key. Obviously had a touchdown that put the Blue Bombers in front, if I'm not mistaken. I will give him maybe the offensive most impactful player. I'd put Greg Ellingson right there with him, but we got to remember, somebody's got to get them the ball.
Well, I thought great for Schoen, and you could see the excitement from O'Shea. Great for Schoen, and you know, he ran a great route. I believe he beat Patrick Levels, who was kicking himself. Patrick Levels is an excellent defender.
It was a great route. Like Dalton Schoen can run routes really crisp.
Yeah,
like Patrick Levels is no spring chicken, right? He's seen it all in the CFL,
That's right.
You know, Schoen just that one quick jab inside. They did a great job on the broadcast, pointing that out. It was impressive.
Yeah, I believe Dalton, the Ottawa Redblacks were shown. Let me just say that they were shown the door by Dalton.
There you go.
He put them over the top. I was preparing for that one, and he, you know, I see on the live chat, like, who's our deep threat? I think that's a big question right now in Bomberland. I don't know if Schoen's a deep threat, but if you can run smooth routes like that and you're relatively fast, maybe it's a deep threat by committee for the Bomber receivers. But
well, I don't know if you can have a deep threat by committee. You want that one guy that can stretch, the one guy that's a legit threat that keeps the safety honest. Like, okay, you know, 88 or 80, there's no 89 on the team. So I'll say, like, there's 89. Keep an eye on him. Maybe it'll be 80. Maybe it will be Janarian Grant. You need someone that has that breakaway speed that can blow the top off. That is a saying that happens in football, because if you blow the top off of a defense, it means the safety's like, I'm out of the play because I'm worried about this guy getting past me. I don't know if Winnipeg has that, or at least they haven't shown it yet. This is something, Zach, I think is very important for people out there to keep in mind. It's week 2 of a 21-week season, and you don't want to show your entire deck of cards in the first 2 weeks, right? Like, the season opener was less than 2 weeks ago, right? The CFL season opener. You got 2 games against the same opponent. Hamilton, Winnipeg's future opponents, Toronto, on July 4th is a game we're all looking forward on the calendar. But Hamilton with a Grey Cup rematch next Friday night here in Winnipeg. They're looking at 8 quarters of football between 2 teams. They have double the film. They have the way they could look at game 1 and game 2 and adjustments and different plays and different wrinkles. Like, you don't want to suddenly go, okay, we really got to beat Ottawa in week 2 as the Blue Bombers. We really got to beat them, and then completely change your playbook and do a bunch of different stuff. It might help you win that game, but it ain't going to help you win in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks if you're suddenly got twice as many plays out there already. Labor Day, I've been told, is the time offensive coordinators, even defensive coordinators, start to open things up a little bit because there's so much film. Everyone's kind of played each other by then, but something to keep in mind.
I think that's well said, Darren. And the other thing, what I was listening to was that I think it was your interview with Lapo, which was great, by the way, fans. You got to check that out. A great interview with Lapo. You don't often hear a one-to-one with Lapo. That was great. And he said, it does give some time, some extra time for the coordinators to prep for the next opponent.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's really important. It's a grind. It's a marathon of a season. And you need that extra time when you have a back-to-back. You don't show a whole lot. And this one, so you've got Scott Rogers saying Dembski hasn't been too involved yet. So I agree, actually. And actually, to win in spite of Dembski not being involved, I think is impressive. When I said committee, I just think that you do have a few receivers that can take the top of a defense. I don't think we've seen it because I know Dembski has in the past. I think Ellingson can. I wonder if Schoen can. I think Rashid Bailey can.
Mm-hmm.
But the lack of Dembski, but then again, Dembski came through. I had him down with 2 plays that were absolutely massive in the third quarter. He had a sweep. Dembski had a sweep that he was completely bottled up on. Right. And he made chicken salad out of something, which is a huge play. You saw Andrew Harris. You talked about how Dembski was given the Oak Park local boy, local hero mantle from Andrew Harris. Mm-hmm. And in that play, he should have been stopped for 3 yards. And I think he got a first down, Darren. Correct me if I'm wrong there.
I think that was a 12-yard run. Yeah,
it was a 12-yard run out of nothing. Those are things that you used to see Andrew Harris do, and I thought that was massive. He did have another sweep. Actually, sorry, that was in the fourth quarter. He had that recovery. He had another 10-yard, 12-yard first down. Maybe it was 9 sweep in the third quarter. So Buck was really using the playbook well, widening out that defense. But then Dembski, I think, ran a great quarter route in the, I believe it was the second half, Darren, and Collaros missed him. And I thought that one miss in the red zone, I would put that on Collaros. Just from what I saw, he had time to throw the ball, whereas the other one, where Ellingson couldn't bring it down, Zach was running to his right and throwing across his body under pressure. It looked like he should have had it, but that's a tougher throw and catch than you might think, I would say. What do you think?
Yeah, like I've said this to you before, right? We don't even know all of the intricacies. We watch it on TV or we watch it live, and it's like, oh yeah, look how easy that looked. Like, if I had that arm strength, I could make that throw. There's a lot of mental that goes into it, and the timing, right? Like the reason the broadcast is so impressed with the connection between Greg Ellingson and Zach Collaros is because, like, last week was their first game together since they were teammates in Hamilton, however many years ago. Ellington only played 7 games that season. I don't even know if Collaros was the full-time starter yet. But like it takes a lot more than meets the eye. And just to clarify, you are right. In the third quarter, it was Winnipeg's last possession of the third quarter. That was the Dembski sweep for 12 yards. It was the run, getting caught in the backfield, breaking tackles, bursting through. That picked up 9, which was nearly, that was 1st and 10, picks up 9. Drew Brown, who maybe wasn't as effective, I'll be diplomatic, not as effective as Dakota Prukop was, but got the job done for the most part. I think they could still be better there. I don't know if Drew Brown should be the guy, but I digress. Yeah. He picks up the first down, and then 2 plays later, Dalton Schoen gets that 27-yard touchdown off the arm of Zach Collaros. 10 plays, 89 yards, and that puts Winnipeg in front 19-12. And well, we know the rest. That's how it ended. Quite a football game. And there's a few other things I want to touch on, Zach, if you don't mind me jumping around. Paul LaPolice, his offense versus Winnipeg's defense. Like, again, we saw Jeremiah Masoli looking very dangerous. 71%, 330 yards. Not quite the 380 he had last time, because although Winston Rose maybe didn't play a great game tonight, he played better than he did last week. There's me being diplomatic again. But, Nate Bahar and Jalen Acklin and Justin Hardy, it wasn't Darvin Adams. He had 6 targets, only had 2 catches for 64 yards, only 64. But I mean, he had that one for 48. That was the bulk of his work. But Justin Hardy came out and played awesome. Like, he was the fourth weapon in the pass game, let alone Shaq Johnson's 41-yard catch. That was a critical one too. But he came out and made it really, really difficult on the Blue Bombers defense. Paul LaPolice drew up an excellent game plan, like really, really well designed. The way he mixed in the run early, the way he gave Mazzoli time, even though the Blue Bombers defensive front, I thought, did a really, really good job at getting pressure on him. But they really only sent 4 at Masoli for most of the game. The Blue Bombers would send 4 defensive linemen for the most part, and lots of rotation. We saw LB Mack, obviously Jackson Jeffcoat made an impact almost immediately. I think it was the first offensive play from scrimmage. He was making a play. But Ottawa looks really, really good. And as we talk about Dalton Schoen maybe being the most impressive player on offense for the Blue Bombers through the first 2 weeks of the season, I put Greg Ellingson right there as well. There is no doubt in my mind who Winnipeg's most valuable player on defense is right now. And I'm not talking about like leadership and veteran, all of that Big Hill and Jefferson and Jeffcoat bring. I'm talking about the guy that has made plays that made a difference in the game, and it is Dietrich Nichols. He had a huge pass breakup in the end zone that, in my opinion, Zach, saved the game.
Absolutely.
He's so good and clean, like not taking PIs, not being irresponsible in his coverage. The way that he tracks with his eyes, they pointed out on the TSN broadcast. What a football player. What a huge, huge find. How about this? This is funny. I tweeted that Nichols is a human tarp. I didn't hashtag nothing. I just put Nichols is a human tarp. First like on Twitter, DeAndre Alford, watching on ESPN2 down in Georgia.
Dude, that is awesome.
That's his old boy. That's his old running mate, right? So, he's watching closely, and obviously the NFLer, DeAndre Alford, impressed with Dietrich Nichols tonight.
And I love, I thought of you immediately, buddy, when Nichols made that play. And just to put an exclamation point on
I told you 2 weeks ago. What did I tell you 2 weeks ago?
That's why I was thinking of you, because I'm like, Bomby's going to tweet something, because Nichols just made an absolutely massive play. He watched the receiver's eyes, Darren, and he put his arm out at the last second. That must be so incredibly difficult to not get a PI there. You could see Masoli, he threw a dime and he was pissed. Like, he was just like, but to put a point on that one, I believe that was the end of the I don't know if it was the end of the third quarter, but that was near the red zone, and I believe Ottawa.
Yes.
Did they get a turnover on that one? Was that the one where they got the third down?
Nichols punch out in the end zone?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Was that the drive? Was that the drive or would they got a field goal on that one?
No. The Nichols knockdown in the end zone led to the second turnover on downs. And then Paul LaPolice challenged for the defensive pass interference.
Right, he went fishing.
Following, hey, why not? At that point, why not?
O'Shea did it last week. But just to put an exclamation point on that, I believe it was a Nichols breakup, and then I think right after that, Casey Sales had a huge sack on Masoli. So it's those timely plays by Nichols, and I think he's, some would say, maybe holding up a defensive secondary for the Bombers that are still looking to gel. You saw Rose get beat a couple more times. You saw Glass get beat a couple with the PI. You saw Taylor get beat once, but Masoli, but again,
yeah.
Ottawa, like Masoli was throwing dimes, and you have brilliant play calling by Paul LaPolice.
Yeah. No,
I think
Ottawa's going to impress people in the West. Like they are going
I
to.
think we only sorry, Darren, but I think we'll only know that. Like I'm going to be fascinated to watch how Ottawa's offense does against other teams going forward. Because my guess is it will give us a really good sense of where this Bomber defense is at. Because if Ottawa struggles against other teams, which I don't think you and me and most people don't think they will, then it tells you, maybe that Bomber defense isn't as great as we thought. But if they light it up like they have against the Bombers, then it's like, okay, listen, maybe we're thinking the sky is falling here for nothing.
That's fair. I'm more of the opinion. Like I don't completely disagree with you at all. Like I'm on the same track as you, but I'm in a different train car. And Zach, maybe I'll ask you to turn your speaker volume down a little bit because I'm hearing an echo.
Oh, okay.
You're not your microphone, your speaker. Yeah. Like I'm hearing myself. Anyway, not too big of a deal. I just want to make sure it's not too distracting for everybody watching live on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter as well. If you're watching on Twitter right now, head over to youtube.com/Bonfire Sports or Facebook, and you can find us there, Bonfire Sports TV. All those links, bonfiresports.ca. But if you're watching on Twitter, if you head over to YouTube or Facebook, you can join the live chat. And then, like if you got a good beak or a question or those sorts of things, like here's an example. C. Walker, who's watching on YouTube, any estimate when Brandon Alexander will be back? Probably not fair to estimate right now. I wouldn't hold your breath. I don't think he's going to be back this week or next week or probably even the week after that. They're going to make sure that he's good to go for when the games really, really matter. Malcolm Thompson's playing pretty good. A couple people in the chat, Zach, mentioning that, they have a rookie safety back there. I haven't seen Thompson get burned in coverage. I've seen him make some big hits. I've seen him make some nice tackles and some assisted tackles tonight. I think there was one where it was Nick Taylor, I think, where Malcolm Thompson came and Taylor couldn't get the defender down. So instead of Thompson just coming and like plowing him over, he knew it was his teammate. He put enough into him to get the ball carrier to the ground, but without actually like crushing the ribs of his teammate. A lot of people also mentioning, Zach, concern for the offensive line. Somebody said, see if I could find the comment here, but they were saying how Jamarcus Hardrick was spotted limping after the game. And then, of course, Michael Couture left in the first half, did not return. No update. Never is there an update from the Blue Bombers in the immediate following an injury in game. But Jeff Gray had a penalty in the first half, in the first quarter. I think it was maybe the second possession that negated that wide open Dalton Schoen pass. And that would have set Winnipeg. I think that would have got the wheels turning a little bit quicker than it ended up being, where Winnipeg's offense was really kind of puttering along, similar to last week. They just couldn't get any continuity, but they took advantage of a huge mistake where the halfback and the dime back both bit down on the short route, and Dalton Schoen was free and clear and even made a pretty acrobatic catch to pull it in. Gray got beat another time. They showed that on the broadcast. Now with Michael Couture down, Chris Kolinkowski more than capable. Like Michael Couture, excellent football player, CFLPA All-Star last year. Us dummies in the media didn't vote him an All-Star. I voted for Sean McEwen. That's just me. It's tough when you're in the league with Sean McEwen, but the Players Association and players in the league voted Michael Couture an All-Star last season, which says a lot. If he's down, I think Chris Kolinkowski will do a good job filling in, but I don't know if you're not going to be able to make a lot of changes if you have injuries. Of course, we don't know how serious this one is from Michael Couture.
Yeah, for sure. And I do want to recognize Kolinkowski, because the first play he went in, Darren, we were in the red zone I believe at that point we were down 9-1. A massive, massive play in the red zone. Kolinkowski's first snap is a pass play and pass protection in the red zone, and they give Zach enough time for Ellingson to work his magic and sit down on a route where the DBs were sort of deep in the end zone. And I think that was an absolutely massive touchdown for the Bombers, even though they didn't convert that with Brown in the 2-pointer. To put a backup in there at center and in that kind of situation convert, I thought that was super impressive. Maybe I'm reading into it more than I should, because maybe I'm underestimating how good Kolinkowski is, but I'm seeing here on the chat he's very good, and they probably shouldn't miss a beat.
Yeah, no, agreed. Like, this is the thing. Barflies was asking, isn't Liam Dobson dressed? He's not. They eliminated the game day scratch for this season. So he's there. He's probably dressed, but he's not dressed. He goes as a healthy scratch on the 1-game injured list. Just some paperwork shuffling that the CFL did
Yeah.
and changed things up a little bit this season. It always drove me nuts because a lot of teams wouldn't announce their game day scratch. And I wouldn't, I'm looking at a roster and it's like, well, who's the 45th here? Anyway. But Jeff Gray, Liam Dobson, if they have to make changes, like, I don't even want to go down that road because we don't know.
We don't know
as far as injuries are concerned. But no doubt Jeff Gray probably is going to be biting his pillow a little bit tonight with regret with some of the plays that got past him today.
He had 2 holding calls there, and he got beat, as you said. But then I was watching the O-line play after that. He didn't get called again. I didn't see him get beat. I think Buck called a really good game to change the pace there in the second half and to take the pressure off the O-line and Zach. And listen, good teams find a way to win, and you saw that on the offensive line. They got the run game going, and I know it's not a sexy stat. Each running back got about 45 yards, but when you take them together and you throw in Dembski, we ran for over 100 yards. When last week we had Oliveira had a 1.7 average, like absolutely pathetic.
One game.
And one game, and not just on Oliveira. The O-line struggled to open up the holes. What a dramatic difference. And that, I know it wasn't a huge score. It was 19-12, but listen, to be able to adjust that and bring your physicality, because I don't know, Darren, don't you think when you're opening up holes in the run game, doesn't that speak a lot to scheme, but also physicality? Your hogs up front have to be able to push the other guys around.
And offensive linemen like to run block, at least the ones I've spoken with, and I've spoken with a good amount. Pass blocking is passive. It's step back, assess, and then attack. Run blocking is I'm going right, I'm going left, I'm pulling, whatever. They're exerting themselves, they're exerting authority on their opponent. It's different.
Yeah.
Most of them like to do that. So, establishing the run and establishing a level of physicality, all those things are important. Earl James, watching live on YouTube, maybe try Gray at center or tackle. Seems a little green for guard. In my experience with football, that logic is a little bit flipped. Tackle is extremely difficult to play. The best offensive linemen in the league are tackles. Center comes with a mental component. I just don't know if Jeff Gray is a center. I've never seen him play center. He played tackle and guard in college. When he went to the NFL, had a couple practice roster spots with Cleveland, and the Jets, as we know, was a guard. He's in Canada right now. I'm thinking there that he's a guard, more of a power offensive lineman than a fleet of foot offensive lineman. Look at me being so diplomatic today. I'm getting good at it. But maybe let's move on from the offensive line. Like, there is a ton of great texts and tweets that I think we should get to.
Can I ask you one though, Darren?
Yeah, shoot.
Just one more on the offensive line that I wouldn't mind to hear your thoughts.
Everybody loves talking about the offensive line.
I think we should. These guys are the unsung
Hey,
heroes in the game,
that
right?
is true. That is true.
Walby would
You're just
agree.
looking for brownie points with Walby. I know what you're doing.
Well, I want to meet Walby. I feel like we're on the same station together,
Your
but
teammates.
we're teammates. He could crush my head with one hand. I'm just thinking about a few people on the chat, in reference to Kolinkowski coming in and then Gray struggling in the first half, especially. People are saying, well, should Dobson be dressing? And my I'm not an expert on Darren, but my first thought is you gotta give Gray a couple more, even more, like give him several more starts. The improvement that O-line had, and don't forget, Ottawa gets paid too. They watch the film. They're playing the same team. Who knows? Maybe Malden or Coleman or Lang or some of those guys, they picked up his tendencies. But
Well,
the
and
thing is that it didn't cost the Bombers the game. He struggled a bit. Zach took a couple sacks. What do you think?
well, let's remember too, like I know they played a lot of games without Andrew Harris last year. Like he was hurt a lot.
Yeah.
But when he was in, how much did Andrew Harris and his natural ability to play physical and break tackles and make, as Troy Westwood would say, chicken salad out of chicken number two. Shout out Westy, miss you, buddy. How much of that clouded some of the play of the offensive line or cast a shadow over it? I think that's something to at least keep in mind. Loved this tweet from Daniel Mitchell. He says, I was going to start a GoFundMe for Johnny Augustine in the third quarter. Augustine did get some work, and it did mostly come in the latter part of the game. 7 carries, 43 yards, 6.1 yards per carry. Oliveira had 48 yards on 14 carries, 3.4 yards per carry. Obviously, that number for Johnny Augustine boosted by that one for 24 he ripped off. I think that was when the television broadcast was down.
Yes, it was.
Right?
What happened there, by the way? Was that the rain? I didn't catch that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The rain was coming, the wind was blowing. Like, we haven't even touched on the weather. After the game, some of the players and coaches were talking about, like, it may be worse than people realize because it came and went and came and went. But there was that stretch of time where they started to look up, the shot of the press box of Marshall and Suits calling the game, right? And it looked like it was a blizzard. Like, you couldn't see anything. So yeah, I'm not sure what happened with the broadcast there, but
well, I'm not as diplomatic as you, and I saw some people on Twitter. I do get frustrated with TSN. They do miss coming back from sometimes commercial, but sometimes from the booth. They'll have something going on that they think is super interesting, and they miss plays on the field.
You're talking when Sinopoli was on. Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna not only Sinopoli, but they didn't have Waiters 27 is saying they didn't have their best night, and another guy's Earl James is saying he turned off the TV. It frustrates me. Like, you shouldn't miss plays. Every play in the CFL is key. You shouldn't miss plays. And I think that when Suter is on, and I love Suter. I know he's polarizing for a lot of people, especially because he's a rider, a bit of a rider homer and former rider safety.
Shouldn't matter, but yeah, I know it does.
It shouldn't matter. I like the guy. I think he's a good spokesperson for the CFL. I've seen him on the radio in Regina many times. He's true grassroots football in Canada, but he sometimes gets carried away with the guests in the booth like Monopoly, and it. I don't want to spend much time on this. It just frustrates me as a viewer, especially when TSN has the monopoly, Darren, and there's no other alternative. So it's just a little point, but go on. Let's move on.
I'll quickly say this. An advantage the National Football League has is that their contract is so big, they spread it out amongst a bunch of different networks, and then they compete with one another. And competition, like in sports, it drives excellence. And, my former teammates at TSN are great people and huge professionals. Everybody makes mistakes. Like, you hear me on the radio years ago? Like, holy cow, I would mess up all the time. I didn't have any real problem with the broadcast.
I actually felt bad for you back in the day, Darren. I was like, oh, this guy's really struggling.
Oh, come on. Like,
Whatever, man. I
you're
never
supposed to
saw
be
you that
tipping
way.
me for wearing a green shirt that
Well, I
matches,
was
what is it?
going to.
This little helmet right here.
I thought that was low-hanging fruit, but since you mentioned
No,
it, I
see,
mean,
look, no,
then
no
again,
logos, no logos. This is a hand-me-down from my brother-in-law. He lives in Toronto. He doesn't
oh,
know
nice.
anything
Well,
about
I'm
the
wearing a
CFL.
red shirt, so red blacks. I don't know.
It looks kind of pink to me, but I digress.
Pink is it.
So David texted in tonight, says what's up to Bluto as well. Of course, the nickname of the legendary Chris Walby. Got to say, Jeff Gray is getting killed in the trenches. I don't like it. I don't like seeing Zach eating sacks and
Yeah.
taking a loss of yardage. That was David on text. Who is this? This was, I'd appreciate it when you text the hotline right here. 816 tips. Leave your name so I can give you a shout out for your comments. But one texter says 2 points is 2 points. Ottawa is going to start winning and soon. So getting them this early in the schedule may have been a blessing. Yeah, maybe. You know, like playing Calgary early in the season, playing Toronto early in the season. I know they didn't look very good, but did you catch any of
Yeah.
that game last night? Like, you think Winnipeg has kicking problems? No, they
Oh,
don't.
oh, that, my heart actually broke for Montreal fans there, and especially because I mean, Darren, I know we're talking about another game here, but the owners have got to shut their mouths. Like you can't be spouting off in public that we're going to win this game, guaranteeing a win, or saying there's going to be major changes made. Like, give me a break. You are not doing your team any favors. And who knows? This might be a butterfly effect comment here, Darren. The
Mhm.
thing with the butterfly, flaps and two continents over, something catastrophic, there's an earthquake.
Yes.
But don't tell me that your players don't hear that stuff. And when you're going for a walk-off field goal, I know there was a few ticks left. I don't know if that doesn't get in David Cote's head. That's a very makeable field goal. The hold was good, the snap was good. Just shut your mouth. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Everybody plays a different way,
It
and
I don't
the
think
mental
there's
part of it
any
is
advantage to that. I don't You're making it about yourself, and football is the ultimate team game. I do want to
sure,
give one shout out. Can I give you one shout out before we go on, Darren? To
sure.
our good friend sign guy, master heckler, and now he's a master journalist. He's written a few articles now for the CFL News Hub. Here he is again. He's bringing it, sign guy, Donnie C from Winkler. Check his stuff out on CFL News Hub. It's different than Three Down. It's different from 13th Man. It's different from
Well, it's
CFL.ca. And the stuff he's putting out has been great.
yeah, like he writes,
Yep.
it's from a Blue Bombers fan for Blue Bombers
Yep.
fans. So shout out Don, aka Sign Guy, Master Heckler, as you say, and he's the one leaving me tons of voicemails on the hotline, like
Yeah.
so many voicemails. Don, you're killing me. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Love the voicemails, love the passion. I'm still trying to find a way to like play the audio on the
Yeah.
show, like not like holding my phone up to the microphone or whatever, because audio quality is important.
Yeah.
If we freeze, but you can still hear us talking, you can probably still enjoy the show here on Bonfire Sports. Thanks everybody out there. The chat is lit up. We've got like viewer numbers right now, Zach, that we've really never hit before in the post game. So everybody, thanks for joining us. Big shout out to Dawn and Comet, Waiters 27,
Yeah.
Josh, Travis, like so many people that are back. Scott Roger, Go Rifles, Rifle Up, Barflies, Trevor, Jeff, Kabila's, I
Yeah.
absolutely butchered your name there.
Jeff
Andrea
Cabillas
Polak.
is an all-star on the Rod Peterson show. I mean, we
Is
should be a
he?
little bit. He's always on there. He's always mentioned, so we should be fairly humbled that he's here as well. Andrea, is it Andrea or Andrea Kohach who's been here every time? Booch is
Yeah.
here. I don't know who Pilapenka is, but I've never seen Pilapenka. But thank you for joining,
Welcome.
Earl James. All right,
Yes.
CFL Central. Who's CFL Central?
One of the Fritchie brothers is on. I know your family well. So what's going on, Fritchie brothers? Family of broadcasting legend Bo, as you know
Oh,
from the Bo and Mandy show on oh, what is it now? They keep changing it. 99.9, but great morning show and great guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, John Elliott and C Walker and everybody that is Jay Ferg, Tim D.
yeah,
Shout out to everybody. Sandy, love
yeah.
seeing the ladies in the chat. Football's for everyone. Get go like if if you're there right now and you're scared to jump into the chat. Like Andre Harms just jumped in. Best bomber coverage, bar none. Love it. What's going on,
Wow.
Andre? If you're male, you're female, like get in. Don't be intimidated. Everybody is welcome here. But thanks everybody for joining us. Famous or infamous? Yeah, a lot of things are famous or infamous, like the kicking here in Winnipeg.
Okay. You had to go
And
there, buddy.
had
You know,
to,
my
right?
gut was just starting to feel better, Darren, and now I just felt a little bit of a twist in there. Zach has
Well,
only eaten one banana today. Come on.
well, just slow down the coffee intake. That's hard on the
I
gut.
can't. Oh, that would be, yeah. I won't
I
get
know
into that. What
it's
happened
tough, but
today?
uh, so Mark Leggio misses another convert tonight. Is that cause for concern? Do
Yes.
you make a change? I'm just asking questions. I have an opinion on this. I'm just asking questions.
Okay, well,
Do you
let
make
me
a
jump
change?
in and then you jump in.
Okay,
Um,
and you go ahead. I'm going to pull up Mark Leggio's numbers here, as well as Richie Leone and Lewis Ward. Ward went 4 or 5 for 80 yards, right above our
Say that
screens
last
there.
part again. I was laughing at a comment here about Jeff Cabela says, "I bet Barry Trotz can get converts." anyway, cue the converts, Barry Trotz. Anyway, go ahead, Darren.
Well, I
Sorry.
was just saying Lewis Ward went 4 of 5 for, 80% field goals, right? Here's Mark
Tonight,
Leggio.
he
Yep.
missed one,
Here's Mark.
Ward. I might have missed that in the beginning of the game. I was putting the little boy
He,
down
yeah, no, he missed one late, I think. I'd have to look for it, but
late in the first half. Or okay,
Mark
yeah.
Leggio misses a convert, but he goes 2 of 2. He hits from 52 and he hits from 30. He did his job. He punted, what were his punt numbers tonight?
Yeah.
Averaging 33.6, not good. Not a good
Well,
number. Now we
not
know the
good.
wind and the rain
Yeah, I was
were a
gonna say.
factor,
Yeah.
but 33.6 punt average is not good. I liked what Janarian Grant brought.
Yeah, he didn't have a ton, but he did okay. I mean, the thing is he runs north south and he isn't putting the ball on the ground. And
Mhm.
he had a, I don't know what the stats are with him. He had a couple of decent ones, hey? With Janarian?
Sorry. Yes. Yeah, we got the numbers there. So he had one kickoff return for 29 yards, one punt
Yeah.
return for 10. That missed field goal return. So when Lewis Ward did miss,
Okay.
he had a nice 49-yard return, and I'm not sure where that set that up, set the Blue Bombers up, but the field position was critical and helpful for the Blue Bombers, especially late in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk Leggio, let's talk special teams because I
Sure.
think the special teams was uncharacteristically poor today in the sense that there were a few penalties that you don't usually see by the Bombers. I think O'Shea will be and Boudreaux and those guys will not be happy. Then on the other side, you get that roughing the kicker call, which was my wife was watching the end of the game with me. This never happens, and she was just like, "Stop saying wow." I was just like, "Wow, wow!" Like you never see a roughing the kicker call,
Wow.
and it was a legit roughing the kicker call. But
Mhm.
getting back to Leggio, I mean, here's what I saw. I think it is concerning that he missed another point after. I think you should. I think I saw in the chat here, Medlock maybe only missed one of those in his whole career here. I don't think you should miss those very often. I think you should hit them like 95%. But he hit the field goals he needed to. His punts were they were okay, Darren. They weren't great, but there was weather. I was concerned about a couple of the kickoffs he had, to be honest with you. One rolled out of bounds. And I
Right.
don't know if this is the new rule, Darren, but it set the Ottawa Red Blacks up on the 50-yard line right at the end of the second half, and they almost
The end of
stole the
the first
momentum.
half. Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
first half, Darren.
Yeah.
My bad. And they almost stole momentum back. You know, they almost got a field goal try out of that. I didn't realize you get set up on the 50-yard line. So that is a huge, huge mistake. And credit to the Ottawa returner who had the patience to let that sort of dribble out of bounds without him touching it. But I think that was concerning to me. And the other one I want to say, and then please jump in, is in a fourth quarter, and I don't know if it was the weather that made the ball hang up, but I thought one of his kickoffs was not only short, but it really hung up there. And the Ottawa returner had a decent return. And that field position battle, that's massive in a close one-score game. And
Yeah.
so Legio, he's doing all three duties. I think I'd give him another couple of games, unlike Jeff Hamilton, who probably wants his head on a spike. But I'm concerned. What do you think?
I'm not concerned.
You're
I'm
not
not.
concerned.
It's okay. How old is Mark Legio? Is he like 23, 24 years old? Like he's a young guy.
Okay, Gregory on that. I'll look it up. You keep talking.
We'll get a
I'll
whole
look it up.
Wikipedia in the chat. He has the talent, and Winnipeg wants him to succeed. If you want somebody to succeed in a position in the game of football that, as I was told by my former broadcast partner, Hall of Fame kicker Troy Westwood, it's 90% mental. 90%. Troy would know. He played in big games. He made misses in big games. He also leads the Blue Bombers all time in scoring. He obviously had a lot of success, and he had a lot of failure in big games. Everybody talks about those Grey Cup games, and you know, I probably didn't talk about it when I was on the air with Troy, but you know, fans would always let me know. You know, few people understand that stress, that pressure, that energy of having the game on the line, having 100 people on your sideline, coaches, support staff, injured guys, practice roster, they're all there. They're all there.
Yeah.
And your job is on the line, and their game is on the line, and there's guys on crutches, and they're limping around, and they're beat up, and they're bloody, and they're scarred, and they're tired, and you just go out there and kick. Like, that pressure, I can't imagine. So if the Blue Bombers want Mark Legio to succeed, do you start, like, do you give him the job week 1 and then pull him after week 2 because he missed a single point twice?
I think you're right. No, and I think I mean, for they're saying he's 25 years old, second year in the league, Darren.
Mhm.
I think you'd rip his confidence out of his heart if you did that. I think that would be foolish. I think that's like Chris Jones pulling Nick Arbuckle after, you know, a few throws, you know.
Different coach. Very, very different coach.
Different, very different. Glad he's not coaching our team. Good for the league, though. Good for the league. Polarizing figure, lots of entertainment. But I agree, Darren. It just concerns me. I do. You know, honestly, I'd give him lots of rope, because the only way that he's going to learn to be mentally resilient, if it's such a mental position, cue in the Chris Walby joke about kickers, give him some rope, give him some time, and see what he does with it.
I like this comment from Travis, and I don't completely disagree, but I do a little bit. Even though he agrees with me. So what's up, Travis? Thanks for joining us again. He can't miss at home anymore, because if the problem is mental, fans have and will boo him. Yeah. Deserved or not, it'll happen. And that those boos don't disappear in your mind. The reason I disagree a little bit is not what you're arguing. It's that when you miss on the road, they cheer. Yeah. How do you think that makes you feel? It's probably the same feeling as hearing the boos from a fraction of the crowd that are being very vocal and probably well lubricated at that point. But I digress. I think we're going to see Mark Legio continue to have faith instilled in him from the Blue Bombers and from head coach Mike O'Shea. I want to pull up the penalties, Zach.
Yeah, penalties were a big story in this game. Well, I was saying, so the both teams really, really took bad penalties at bad times. I think Ottawa, I don't have the stats. You tell me, Darren. I think Ottawa probably had more penalty yards off the top of my head and took some worse ones. You look at that roughing the kicker, you look at that unnecessary roughness call on Bailey, although that one, I don't know. Like, I don't know how a DB avoids that hit on Bailey.
I
It's
yeah.
bang bang. Like, I don't think
I
it's
think it's hard. I think it's hard for people to understand that haven't played football. Like everything is happening so fast. And yes,
yeah.
you're responsible for your own body. And I'm going to let you finish your point, but I
Yeah,
think
go
a
ahead.
lot of that is people don't understand what it's like to run around a football field 60 plays a game,
Yeah.
you know?
It was a tough call, and then Rose got a tough penalty call later, a PI late in the game where, I mean, the ball was basically being thrown away and they were just hand fighting. I didn't like the call, but I did appreciate that they didn't overturn Lapalisa's fishing call later on. But just in terms
Mhm.
of yards, we saw some people on the chat saying Malcolm Thompson at safety is struggling. I can't say that I saw that, but again, I wasn't really
I
looking at
haven't
the
seen it.
safety position. What he did have was two, I believe, no yards calls on the kick coverage team, number 36. And one was pretty egregious in the second half where he was basically a yard off the guy. And I think O'Shea was not happy. And that's 30 free yards for the Ottawa return game. And in a close
Mhm.
game, that's tough. And listen, he hasn't been around that long either. So, you know, he's learning. I think you have to give a guys a chance to learn. It's just uncharacteristic to see the Bombers take penalties on kick coverage or kick return. It's kind of like the bread and butter of the Bombers. They don't beat themselves. Calgary used to not beat themselves. And Calgary in their heyday was winning these close, ugly games too, by the way.
Right.
Championship teams, especially on the road on a back-to-back against a good coach, Darren,
Yeah.
will find ways to win. And so I was super impressed. But I thought that I
Well,
thought
and with a quarterback that is clutch when you need him to be.
absolutely. He might
That's
not
the
have been
the
like
missing secret ingredient.
the
Yeah.
first half was I tweeted out the time of possession was like 18 minutes to 11 minutes. Masoli had over 200 yards passing in the first half. Caleros, I think, I had it written down. It wasn't very. I think the Bombers hadn't even generated much more than 100 yards of offense up until
Mhm.
that last drive. But anyway, I'm digressing here. I thought that there was a few penalties like I said, Malcolm Thompson had the two no yards calls. Then you had that kickoff that went out of bounds, that short kickoff, the punting. It's hard to know, Darren, like you said with the weather. But I think special teams wasn't the best today. But luckily, I do want to make two more points. Luckily, it didn't cost them the game. And
Mhm.
luckily, Ottawa matched them punch for punch and taking bad penalties. I think that'll really piss off Lapo, and he's got to clean that up. The other thing I wanted to say that I noticed was, as I think you predicted, Joe Mancuso was the holder. Was he not on field goal? Oh, I'm losing your audio, Darren. I
I
can't
think
hear you.
I was doing my
Oh yeah,
Dennis
yeah.
Bayak throat clear. That's an inside joke. But and shout out Dennis Bayak. Like what a beautiful man. Congratulations on a fantastic career. Everybody's gonna miss the heck out of you. And what an awesome guy. Like, you know, as somebody who knew him personally, man, like everybody out there, you enjoyed him broadcasting. Amazing person, like great guy. And yeah, anyway, I digress.
It's well
So
said though, because people don't know him as well as you might, and he certainly appeared like a gentleman.
oh, absolute gentleman. Where
Yeah.
was I? I got completely distracted by
Well,
Dennis
we were
Bayak.
talking about Mancuso was holding, and that's something
Right,
I think you had
right.
predicted.
You're right. You're one injury away from your starting quarterback holding on field goals. I
Yeah,
think you want to make sure you have somebody in there that can do it all game, because the snapper and the kicker, like this is it's an important thing. There could be intricacies. The Blue Bombers have a very veteran long snapper in Mike Benson. He
yeah,
might snap the ball differently to Drew Brown versus Joe Mancuso versus Dakota Prukup versus Dalton Schoen, who held
yeah,
in practice this week as well. It's good that Joe Mancuso did the job. It means he picked it up quickly. But I'm thinking the short yardage game is the more important thing for Mancuso to do. Of course, holding is important, but I think that's where we're going to see Joe Mancuso actually make an impact. He's a big boy, like real big. I think he's like 230 pounds, 6'4".
Do you not see him getting in on short yardage? Like, I think he's a bigger body than Drew Brown. You saw it. Now it's one game there, and Drew Brown probably has not a lot of practice in the wedge package, but even on that 2-point conversion where they got the penalty and had they were a yard and a half off the goal line there, he didn't really get very far. I think if you've got a big dude like Joe Mancuso, there's a little bit of grace there, even if he doesn't have the experience. He's so big that he could get you those few extra inches. So I don't know. Do you see him maybe getting into that wedge package? Plus, with Zach Collaros' injury history, I don't want to see Drew Brown get injured on a short yardage play, get into that scrum in there where lots of nasty things happen. I would like to see Mancuso in there, but I don't know. What do you think?
It should be Mancuso's job. Like eventually, I'm sure they're hoping it's sooner rather than later. I just don't think Drew Brown is the right physical makeup for that job. Some people like to think, oh, you're small, like a small running back, and you can squeeze between holes. I think it's very important to have power and size. And if you're 5'10" versus 6'4", and 50 pounds difference nearly, I think I would take that 50 pounds in a short yardage play.
I think
that's me.
Well said.
Some people want to talk about Winston Rose. No question, Paul LaPolice targeted him again. And hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm talking from an Ottawa perspective, of course. But as far as Winston Rose is concerned, is he still hurt? Well, okay, look, like there's hurt and there's injured. Okay. 75% of the team is hurt every week.
Right.
Maybe more. But are they injured? Now, when Winston Rose is wearing a walking boot, it raises attention, right? And I needed to report that because it raises attention and it's newsworthy. So I reported it. But I was also told that it was maybe much ado about nothing. Often, sometimes, and I have no inside information on this, but sometimes walking boots are used as a preventative measure. It's don't potentially do anything that could, if it is hurt, if it is damaged, like bone or tissue or whatever, if it's hurt, don't make it worse. And they want to see how's the swelling after a day, after 2 days. You get an x-ray, it's negative. Well, that doesn't mean everything is ruled out. X-rays are, miss things sometimes. So you wear a boot, it's preventative. He was back at practice like the next day. And then 2 days later, he was like making hard cuts and working with the first team, and it all was fine. Rose is still on the injury report, but he's played in every game, and I haven't seen any physical issue with him. So is he still hurt? I don't think so. I don't think that's the problem he had in week 1. I don't think it's why they went after him in week 2. You know why they went after him in week 2? I'll show you why. This is why. Jalen Acklin is a stud. 7 of 8, 77 yards, picks up first downs when he needs to, is sure-handed. Yes, I know he had the drop. Look, it's week 1. He had the drop on the deep ball in Winnipeg last Friday. Fine. Jalen Acklin is an excellent, excellent receiver. Top 10 in the league. There's a lot of good receivers in this league. He's for sure top 10. Many would put him in top 5. I maybe he's right there. Maybe 6, maybe 7. I don't know. But there's a reason, like the other team gets paid too. The other team is trying to win. Mazzoli and Acklin have a history. They were both Hamilton Tiger Cats last year and the year before. Acklin's in his 4th season. Like Matt Dunnigan mentioned on TSN, Zach, it's time to break out. You've been in the league for 4 years, and looks like Jalen Acklin putting on number 23 at wide receiver. Don't get me started. It is working for him. It's working for him.
I
It's
want you to
working.
get started on numbers. I think that would be funny as hell.
Oh
I
man,
think
maybe
Ackland.
maybe on midweek. Maybe we'll do that on
Okay,
Bonfire
midweek.
midweek. Tuesday nights, 7:30 live
Yes,
every
sir.
Tuesday. Me and this guy. Whoop. This.
There we go. There you go. To your
Wait.
something. I,
Hotline. Zach.
I think Rose, yeah. I mean, on the eye test, he got beaten. I think I had him down as being beaten 3 times
Mhm.
today. But if you look at Jalen, he's playing the best receiver on Ottawa. He's playing a quarterback who has a great OC in Paul Lapolis. And Masoli the last 2 games has been accurate as heck. Like he hasn't every time he has time, my thinking is he's going to complete a pass, and he almost does every time. But I'll give you this stat. Jalen Ackland's average was 11 yards, a large of 15. So I think that is fairly impressive. And I think that speaks to Rose not getting burned as badly. Maybe you're
His
giving him the shorter stuff. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, his average last game, I was just going to jump in and say, was
Yeah,
23.8.
yeah,
Because he
exactly.
had
Exactly.
50 yak yards in that game, and obviously the long of 51, 143 yards. Like I said, Acklin is very, very good.
He's good.
Ottawa's offense is very, very good. Like, look how they were able to work things in the pass game with their number one tailback out in William Powell. Brendan
And
Galanders
RJ Harris
is
out. Or
and
not RJ Harris, Ryan Davis was out again,
right.
right?
William
Wasn't
Powell,
Ryan
Brendan
Davis
Galanders, Jackson Bennett are all running backs. RJ Harris is a receiver.
or
He
RJ
was
Harris?
out again this week. Randy Richards on the offensive line, former Blue Bomber practice roster guy, backup. Anyway, I
Was that right?
digress. So here's the thing: Jeremiah Mazzoli goes 71% for 380 yards last week.
Yeah.
Faces the same team, the best defense in the league last season. Tonight, he goes 71% again for 331 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions.
Yeah.
So a clean game, quarterback efficiency at 97.6. Kolaris was 68%. So a pass or two less accurate than Jeremiah Mazzoli. But because he threw 2 touchdowns and an interception, quarterback rating of 113.4. So
Well, and did you see Rose get beaten on any double moves tonight, which was the bane of his existence in game 1? I can't think of one. It may have been one. I don't know if he got beaten more than once.
yeah, like I don't think so. Maybe it was Nick Taylor or Taekwon. I think Taekwon Glass got beat on one. I could be wrong, but
Yeah,
yeah. I
Taekwondo
mean,
class.
you play the same team 2 weeks in a row, some weird things are going to happen. If there's still issues next week with the
Yeah.
Hamilton Tiger Cats in Winnipeg and Dane Evans at quarterback, I think how funny is that? The Bombers play Mazzoli and Evans 3 straight weeks to start the season after facing both of them in the Grey Cup last
Right.
year, and then in the Grey Cup the season before that 2 years earlier. So all funny, strange things. I'm just happy we got a full season in 21 weeks to look at in the regular season here, Zach.
I do want to
Better than
give a
what we've
shout
had.
out. Sorry, Darren. I want to give a shout out to my massage therapist who just texted me and she's listening, Kelsey. And if you're
What's up,
watching,
Kelsey?
I'm rubbing my neck. I'm seeing you on Wednesday, but that little tank of mine is heavy. He loves to be carried around. So thank goodness for Kelsey at Massage Athletica. Thank you, Kelsey. Yeah, again, you got to see a larger sample size. It's against one team. Rose played better this week. He played better this week than last week. I mean, what else do we want? You're playing against other guys that get paid too and who are playing well. So, I mean, do we want to get in a little bit to defense, Darren?
Sure.
Or do you want to jump in with something else?
No, I like it. Let's go to defense. I'll pull up some numbers.
Yeah, pull up some numbers. I mean,
Chris Walby was saying on GameDay Winnipeg today, he's a big stats guy. It's like I said, I'm a big stats guy. And I'm like, Chris, we're talking about the depth chart. Those aren't stats.
He's threatened by you, Darren, by your sparkling intelligence and your new fresh haircut.
Right. He gave me 2 points. He said, okay, there's a point for you. Gave me another one. I can't remember the last time I got 2 points from Chris Walby on a pregame show, but no, he knows he's probably my favorite person in the entire world.
Yeah, he's a gem.
And everybody out there too, I'm sure, are big fans of him. Defensively, who stood out? Casey Sales looks like he is a player. That is a nice piece to complement the Jeffs, Jackson Jeffcoat and Willie Jefferson. Donald Rutledge got to the quarterback again this week, did it last week too, but he did it again. He doesn't get the sack. He essentially spun Masoli around, and Kyrie Wilson picked up the garbage there for his first sack of the season. But Adam Bighill, 5 tackles. Winston Rose had 6. When your DB leads the team in tackles, not a good thing. It's not a good thing. You don't want your DBs to have lots of tackles. Dietrich Nichols also had 6 tackles tonight. Probably targeted less, but we got to remember he's next to Winston Rose. So they were kind of going at Rose again in this game. But I don't know, like I thought Jackson Jeffcoat was maybe more dangerous than Willie Jefferson. And is that because the Ottawa Red Blacks planned for Willie Jefferson? Because they're like, okay, well, Jeffcoat wasn't healthy enough to go last week, but he is this week. So maybe he's not 100%. Maybe he's, going to be a little rusty or what have you. I don't think he played in a preseason game. So Jeffcoat makes his season debut. You focus on Willie Jefferson, the guy who's got a little, go behind him.
Absolutely.
Well, what happens? Then Jeffcoat eats, and the buffet was open. He did a great job.
And I thought, just to speak, I think we need to focus on Jeffcoat because I'm seeing he's the player of the game for a lot of people. I can't necessarily argue with that, the impact he had, Darren, but that we did see Willie Jefferson again take an offside penalty. I think they were trying the hard count on him, and I get it because he's so quick off the ball. But he was in the third quarter. He caused that 2-and-out, the Ottawa's first possession in the third quarter, which I think is a momentum swinger. Swinger.
Momentum swinger.
Momentum. And he got his hands up. He caused the pressure on Masoli. But Jeffcoat was absolutely phenomenal today. He had that stuff on the third down gamble. He had another forced fumble, right? He had 2.
They changed that forced fumble. It was Jeffcoat. Yeah, he had the one.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So he effectively strip sacked Jeremiah Masoli tonight, right?
Yeah.
But there was Devontae Williams. Did I get that name right? I hate getting names wrong because these guys are the pros, right? So
yeah, don't Devontae. You got it, Devontae Williams. You got it.
Well, he was on the Bombers practice roster last year.
Wow, I'm impressed with your memory, man. I'm giving you a third point. Can I assign points too?
You get a quarter point.
Only Hall of Famers with 3 rings.
Right. He gets okay. So you get a quarter point. He's got 3 rings, so that's his 3 more points than you per point. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Devontae Williams was right there. So when Jeffcoat strip sacked Masoli, the ball went right into Devontae Williams' hands and he ran for a couple yards. That's not credited a strip sack because it's neither a strip nor a sack. Like the strip, it's funny, like forced fumbles count, but fumble recoveries like affect it. In the case of Willie Jefferson strip sacking, right? If they knock the ball out, I believe it's recorded as a sack. I got to check on that. I got to check on that. But he should have been credited with a strip sack. It will never be because it's effectively like a shovel pass.
Right.
In this particular case, but Jeffcoat forced 2 fumbles from the quarterback tonight. He was excellent. And again, this may be look, Willie's my guy. I don't know if there's a more
Where are you
impressive
going, buddy? Are you
physical
following
presence.
this rabbit hole of a chat here?
No, I'm not. I'll have to catch up. Well, yeah, no, I see a couple like saying, Willie needs to get going. Willie Jefferson is my guy. Like
Yeah,
he's my top 3 player in the league type guy. When I say he's my guy, like that's how much
yeah,
respect I have for his ability on the field.
yeah.
But we may be seeing the passing of the torch from Willie Jefferson to Jackson Jeffcoat. I know they're close in age and the rest, but Jeffcoat may be getting the respect and the attention that Willie Jefferson has been getting. He may be getting it first now, is what I'm saying, because you can't not account for him. Look tonight, like
Yeah.
guy hasn't played yet this year, and he's at the quarterback twice.
And and that sack near the end of the second quarter, Darren, a couple people on the chat mentioning it, the motor he had on that. Like he
Mhm.
gets blocked up and then he takes it outside and he just keeps churning those legs. He's got those long arms. Like how both of them aren't in the NFL astonishes me. I know there's lots of factors that go into that, but you saw tonight that Ottawa could not get in the end zone. And that's big. That this was an absolute masterclass, especially in the first half on bend but don't break Richie Hall defenses. And I credit Jackson Jeffcoat for putting a seal in the hole in the boat. And I think he was absolutely phenomenal tonight. It is an absolute pleasure to watch Jackson Jeffcoat play.
I love this. This is a 2 comments from a viewer on YouTube. Stamkos better than McDavid says Jefferson's still more dominant than Jeffcoat. Sorry. Well, he also, he or she also feels Stamkos is better than Connor McDavid. So we'll leave it at that. But love the chat. Love everybody joining us on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. If you're on Twitter, head over to youtube.com/bonfire sports or facebook.com/bonfire sports TV. And then you can join the live chat and we can pull your comments up. Like this one, which I think is very on the nose. Waiters mentioning Ottawa's got 1 touchdown in 8 quarters against the Blue Bombers. Bend but don't break. What's your take on the bend but don't break, Zach?
Well, I think we saw it early on in Richie Hall's tenure with the Bombers, and he got slammed for it. But to be fair, and how's my noise, by the way? Is it better now, Darren?
Oh, you sound fantastic.
Oh,
You
of
look
course
even
I
better.
do. Well, I look tired, but nobody's made a comment about my fatigue or whitewashed face, so I appreciate that, chat friends. Maybe
Well,
you've
Zach,
realized how
you've been battling the flu.
I
You should
have.
mention that.
Maybe the chat people have noticed how sensitive I am and that I can't take that stuff. Anyway, Darren, I think I don't even know what I was talking about. What was I talking about? Oh my god, this is bad. This is
That's okay.
bad. We were
I
talking
got
about Jeff
distracted.
Coat.
I got distracted by the live chat too. Uh,
We were talking about Jeff Coat and how good he played, and it's an absolute pleasure. But I do think I do. First of all, I like that challenge by O'Shea because I didn't initially see that ball come out of. I think it was Hardy's hands. Was it
yes. Well,
Hardy?
Shea was right there. He saw it.
He was right there. I love that because
Yep.
you had to see a couple different views of that one. So, uh, but with defense, I think Kyrie Wilson again. This guy might take the happy honker every week, Darren, because he doesn't necessarily jump out. He makes, he made a big play today, I think in the fourth quarter. Have him down.
Mhm.
I don't know if it was a sack or what, but he just always is so sound. Like you never see Kyrie Wilson out of position or getting beat.
Right. Well,
I don't even know where to
it's
go with that.
well.
Oh, you're asking
Take
about bend but don't break. Okay, let
yes.
me jump in on that.
Okay. Well,
I have
so like
bent, but I have not
Kyrie
broken.
Wilson deserves more respect. I'm glad you
He
mentioned him. But
certainly
yeah,
does. I
what's your
want to see
take
him
on the
in on.
bend but don't break? And while you're
So
telling us, don't look at the live chat because it's distracting you.
it's distracting me. Stop
But it's
it, but don't
awesome. I
stop it.
love it.
But don't stop it. Um,
Nope.
Ben McGregor's you guys were on. Thanks, Travis. Travis is just throwing darts. I think early on in Richie Hall's tenure, he was bend but don't break, but he often broke. They in 2016 they had, I think, the most turnovers in the league by a long shot. But then you saw in that Western semifinal how Jonathan Jennings, that defense really fell apart. They had a hard time stopping the run. And 2017, we all remember that first home playoff game at IG Field. The Bombers secondary got absolutely torched by Mike O'Reilly and Darius Bowman and those guys, and it was embarrassing. But when Adam Big Hill, 2017,
right, yes,
but
yes.
2018, I saw a huge shift in the Bomber defense with Adam Big Hill coming over, and I think, and then you saw it in 2019 where he had Jefferson and Jeffcoat and Adam Big Hill, and then he had at the end of the season, you had Alexander and Maston and Taylor come over, and something happened there. They gelled, and even Mike Jones, who kind of lost his job last year, now with Montreal. So I don't love a bend but don't break defense, but we've seen it here and there with the Bombers. We saw it against Edmonton a couple times in 2019 where they could only kick field goals. Sean White probably, busted his toe kicking field goals. But if the Bombers always say, if we're getting 2-and-outs, 1s or 3s, then that's what we want.
Right.
And that's what they did tonight. So the time of possession was wildly slanted in the first half. But then in the second half, the time of possession really clawed back the Bombers' way, and the defense gave them a couple 2-and-outs, and they gave them a couple turnovers. So, listen, you may not love how it looks. It may give you a stomach bug like me. It may curdle your stomach if you're watching a bend but don't break. But man, like it worked. It worked tonight, and it worked last week.
Well, it's been working for a long time for this Blue Bombers defense. The tons of great stuff in the chat that I want to get to, but Brett has been waiting so patiently. He asked like 45 minutes, maybe even an hour ago to for us to talk about the Dakota Prukop injury. We don't know what it is, and they also Brett wanted to know the details of the 6-game injured list. So when a player is placed on the 6-game injured list and they end up spending the entirety of that time on the 6th game, their salary doesn't count against the cap during that 6 weeks or longer, potentially.
Right.
You can be put on the 6-game injured list twice. And then after 12 weeks or that stretch of 12 weeks, things change as far as salary cap relief and that sort of thing. And then you can spend 4 weeks on the 6th game and come off early. You cannot practice until 4 weeks at the earliest. Like if you're on the 6th game, your salary doesn't count and you can't practice. Like you don't get both. You don't get the salary cap relief and the guy's still practicing with the team and you're just kind of waiting for him. Like Chris Jones would, those types of coaches, not calling out Chris Jones specifically, but many coaches would probably take advantage of that. So in Dakota Prukop's case, he's not on the daily or weekly injury report on the league website because he's on the 6th game. They do not have to be listed on there. So until Dakota Prukop comes back and is able to practice in presumably a month, maybe longer, we don't know, then we may get a designation of it's a foot, it's a hamstring, it's a groin, it's a rib, it's a wrist, whatever. He's at practice, he's alive, but that's all we know. So the loss of him, I feel, is significant. And I understand a lot of fans don't want to talk, well, he's the short yardage quarterback. He's not even the true backup. Like it's Drew Brown. He's going to come in the game when Collaros can't go. True. How many times did we see the short yardage package tonight? How many times did Ottawa and Winnipeg combined need a first down on 2nd and short or 2nd and 1 or 3rd and 1? The Ottawa Red Blacks turned the ball over twice on downs tonight. The wedge package, the short yardage, and the goal line package, jumbo, whatever you want to call it, bring in your tight end, bring in your extra lineman, bring in a D lineman, bring in Jake Thomas to play tight end. Whatever you're doing, the guy with the ball has to move.
Yep.
And that is a very, very important group. So losing Dakota Prukop, in my opinion, is a big, big hit for the Blue Bombers, let alone the threat he brings to the field. Like, you can have two quarterbacks. We've talked about
Totally.
this, right? You can
Yep.
have two quarterbacks on the field. Like, I could go on and on about this.
No, it's important though. These are small things that people often overlook, and I think it's important.
Absolutely. The
And
two
you
quarterback thing is
Yeah.
crazy. Like, think about it. You got a guy playing wide receiver that can throw the ball like throw darts,
Yeah.
like a quarterback can, like a Dakota Prukop can. Whew. I can't
Well,
wait
and
for that first play
I
to happen.
know,
That
because
first
we
quick
haven't
play to
seen it
happen.
yet this year from anybody, but as you said, maybe those things open up by Labor Day. But I will say, I mean, I'm speculating, but if Prukop was in today, by the way, there was another 3rd and short that Brown, I thought, actually didn't get. He actually did get it, maybe on a second effort, but he almost didn't get that, which would have been a huge turnover. That they might not have won the game had he not made that. But Prukop, I think, makes that 2-point conversion. On the 1.5 yard line, I think Prukop with his size and
Yeah.
skill, and then you're looking at a 21-12 game, which is massively different. It's just I think that it's often overlooked, but it's a massive part, and you talk about Hamilton turning the ball over on 3rd and short, right? There's a massive Jefferson thing. I don't even like to compare the guys. Chris
Well,
Walby should be our short yardage QB.
he
Poor
could
guy.
pick it up. He'd be like the fridge, right? Him and I have talked about that before.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so some people asking about the 2-point conversion call.
Yeah, I don't get the
Um,
confusion with that. I think that's a no-brainer at that point.
yeah, it's a 2-point ball game. So
Yeah.
you kick. Okay, I know there's still a half to play or whatever, but Mike O'Shea is always looking at that score margin. Always. The only thing more important than that score margin in Mike O'Shea's mind is field position. That's all coaches think about. They don't think about this. They let their coordinators handle special teams, offense, defense. The coaches are watching the clock. The coaches are watching the discipline. The coaches are watching the energy on the field or the sideline or in the huddle or whatever. And they're watching the things nobody else is paying attention to. Mike O'Shea, he like many good coaches is paying attention to those things that are forever important. And if it's a 2-point ball game and there's still a half to play, what's the difference between a 2-point ball game and a 1-point ball game? Like, nobody's going to march the field and then like kick a rouge. Yes, it happens, but it's not going to be the difference. Nobody's going to do it to make the difference in the game. It happens and it can be the difference in the game, but nobody's going to, get to the 12-yard line and then like you're going to kick a field goal. And if you miss the field goal, you get a point. So what's the difference between 2 points and 1 point? Nothing.
Yeah.
Essentially nothing. So you go for 2 because you're about 50%. The league, league wide, the number is about 50%. So why wouldn't you?
Well, and that's what the
And
stats
I
people say, that you should always go
right,
for 2. I
right.
disagree because I think we would agree, Darren. It depends on the down and distance, the time of the game, whatever, right? But I mean, not down and distance because they're always going from what, the 5-yard line on 2 points.
Right.
So
Your
it
quarterback needs
depends.
to pay attention to time, down, and distance. That's
I
that's
I
why Zach
think
Collaros dove head first last week because he
right.
paid attention to the distance. He knew he needed it for a first down.
I think we used to never see the 2-pointer from the Bombers because they knew Medlock would hit it. They knew he would hit that 1-pointer, and they just didn't even bother.
I think
You
Mike
don't
O'Shea is evolving
Yeah.
because we've asked him about it. Like, I've been in every Mike O'Shea press conference for however many years. I've been at all of them. Tuesday afternoon, Saturday night, whatever it is. I've been in them. He's never spoken to why he didn't go for 2 before.
Hmm.
Why did he go for 2 today? Well, like, erase all of the analytics and the numbers people that say this and that. Erase all of that, Zach. Okay. A coach in 1985 would have went for 2 in that situation, like we saw
Hmm.
today. That wasn't a
Mhm.
progressive move. That was a I tweeted it as a no-brainer. That is a traditional, tried and true mentality that if it's a 2-point game and you're looking at the end of a quarter, you're going into the half, I want a tie game. I don't care if it's 1 or 2 points. I want a tie game or 2 points difference.
The only thing I can think of, Darren, is does it burn some of your momentum if you miss the 2-point convert, which has less of a chance of succeeding than the 1-point convert?
You got the only you got the only touchdown in the game. It was the only touchdown in the game at that point, wasn't it?
It was.
Oh, it was Winnipeg's first touchdown. Maybe I'm wrong.
It was Winnipeg's. They got 2, but yeah, that was my only point. Was you claw your way back into this game and you miss the 2. Is it a little bit of a momentum swing? But
it
I
was
don't
the
know.
only touchdown in the game.
Yeah. Well, no, the shown touchdown in the second half, but the only touchdown of the half
at that point.
I don't think it burned momentum. I think the Bombers made enough of a statement on that play. I think if you're down by 2, you go for 2. I mean, I don't know. I don't see a reason to.
I'll spin through Winnipeg's offensive possessions in the first half, okay? 2 and out. Then the possession where Schoen was missed deep because of the Jeff Gray holding penalty. So that was 7 plays and then a punt single. So they got a point at the beginning of the second quarter. But 2 and out, punt single. Then interception by Monshadrick Hunter, Money Hunter.
Yeah.
Then the next possession, it was 3 plays and a punt. And then they go 7 plays, 70 yards, like Ellingson for 11. Oliveira runs for 2 carries for a first down. And then Greg Ellingson pulls in the 13-yard touchdown.
Right.
That was a nice drive.
Yeah.
You missed the 2-point convert. What momentum are you really losing? You've got the only touchdown in the game, and it's 9-7.
I will say, though, what I'm seeing in the chat, which is an interesting point, is they don't like the play call of Drew Brown sneaking it, which I think there's something to be said for that. I mean, it's hindsight. It didn't work, but
I think it was a contingency plan this week, right?
Yeah. With him having a smaller body, I mean, do you maybe throw the ball? Do you hand it off? I don't know. It's an interesting. I think it's a fair point.
I just don't think you want Drew Brown running around for his life in the backfield. I think that's important. Like if I'm the OC going into this game, if I'm Buck Pierce and I'm like, okay, Drew, you're going to handle short yardage. You got it. You know what you need to do. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Keep it in the middle. Don't run off tackle.
For sure.
I don't want him to get absolutely crushed.
No, we're in big trouble.
If it's your third stringer, if it's Dakota Prukop, Prukop is fleet. Like, he can run. Drew Brown can run. He's just a different style runner. Like, confidence comes in size, right?
What did you see in that interception from Collaros to Money Hunter? Because I missed it, actually. I didn't see it. I had to run out and do something.
I think it was the first play on that first, like, Winnipeg's possession that began in the second quarter.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember it now. Maybe someone in the live chat can chime in.
I never caught it. People are saying Money Hunter's kind of like a bit of a unsavory character. I don't know enough about him, but I know he was with Edmonton before.
He was.
Walby likes him, but he won't call him Money, right? Walby will only call him Monshadrick. Is that right?
He just doesn't like the nickname. Yeah. But well, I think it's Torrey Hunter's nephew or something, isn't it?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. If anybody should be named Money, it's Torrey. Like that contract he got with the Twins, and then like just kind of disappeared as far as performance on the field. Money. Yes. Appreciate Brett in the live chat. He tried to squeeze it into Wolodarski. Zach Collaros is not Matt Nichols. Matt Nichols would never throw that ball. Matt Nichols would also never stretch the field. He would never have a safety worried about getting beat. He would never be that big. Do you know why why Matt Nichols never threw for 300, 350 every once in a while? You know why that never happened? Because he wouldn't have a 55-yard completion every week. It wasn't in his game plan.
No.
Paul Apolice, look what he does with Jeremiah Masoli.
Yeah.
Look what he did with Zach Collaros in 2019.
Yeah.
He couldn't do any of that with Matt Nichols. Nichols was a game manager. He got the job done, but he wasn't scaring anybody with his passing prowess. So Zach Collaros, he's going to throw balls like that. I'm not. Are you concerned about Zach Collaros? I'm asking you in the live chat. You too, Zach. Are you concerned Zach Collaros isn't playing well enough?
No, I'm not. I would take Zach Collaros in an average game over Matt Nichols every day of the week and every day next week. And it's not to knock Matt Nichols. Matt Nichols was not a gunslinger the way Zach is. He didn't when he would complete a deep ball, from what I heard and from the eye test, it was because it was a Paul Lapolice special scripted play that scripted that guy would be wide open.
Right.
It wasn't Zach Collaros who has the guts right after a turnover deep in his own end, and you've seen it time and time again with Collaros, that he'll just throw a ball in there to a tight window, 30, 40 yards. I think we're incredibly lucky to have him. His numbers might not have jumped out the page. I do think, like I said, he missed Dembski in the end zone, but listen, quarterbacks miss throws. I love his mojo. I love his gumption. I love that he's a gunslinger. He's going to maybe give you, I think he gave you a few balls last week where a couple could have been picked off, Darren. But every quarterback does that. I would not consider taking any other quarterback in this league other than Zach Collaros. He's just, I like what Scott's saying it. Like, he's just fine. He's good. Keep him healthy. He shouldn't keep running a scramble drill and sliding head first. But I think we're very lucky, and I look forward to rewatching that game and seeing the Collaros magic.
Speaking of Gamer Gaming 69, Zach is better than Nichols. I agree. Zach Schnitzer, you are better than Dietrich Nichols.
I am a bit of a tarp, I guess, eh?
You're of a kind. You are a tarp, yes.
Yeah, Zach, I think what Josh, shout out to Josh Wolf here. Zach is elite. Nichols wasn't elite, but he was a good guy. And I think we can't forget that he helped turn this franchise around in 2016. He brought stability to a quarterback stable that had Drew Willie, who was basically broken at that point. But
that's what made, in my opinion, that's what made Matt Nichols so valuable to the Blue Bombers. Drew Willie, you can call him broken, you can call him whatever. I have an opinion on it that I'll maybe save for another time.
Oh, I want to hear it. You can't tease that.
Come on. People got to tune in Tuesday night at 7:30 for Bonfire MidWeek.
Yeah, I'm marking that down. I'm holding you to it, buddy.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'll collect my thoughts. But the reason Matt Nichols was so valuable to the Blue Bombers, and maybe part of what my thoughts on Drew Willie will come out in this. Matt Nichols brought confidence and fire to the huddle and to the locker room and to the quarterback room. Okay. He brought that different type of leadership, that different fire. He had something that rallied the players around him.
I think that's well
said. He's what the Blue Bombers needed. And no, he wasn't blowing the top off defenses. No, he wasn't throwing for 350 or making 4 touchdowns. And what he protected the ball.
Yeah.
He gave it to Andrew Harris, like that one season, more than any player has had touches in receiving and rushing in 1 year, the 1,000 year, right? He broke a record with like 103. I think it was 103 receptions, most by a running back in CFL history.
Beat the Craig Ellis record, right? Something like that.
And then what Matt Nichols did in the huddle, and what Matt Nichols did in the meeting room, in the locker room, and just like inside that building, inside the organization, is something I don't think a lot of fans realize. He was more than just an arm and a signal caller. Like, he brought something that was very, very valuable. And that was all part of the O'Shea mantra and the culture change and the, I don't know, that X factor, that intangible. You want to call it FIFO? You want to call it that?
Yep.
Maybe, it was all part of that. Matt Nichols had that, and they needed it really, really badly.
I think that's well said, Darren. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Kelsey's in the chat. Josh Wolf, I don't know who you are, but you're bringing it today, buddy. He's
Well,
also bringing up a lot of bad memories for us with Brian Brom and Max Hall and Justin Goltz, and don't forget about Jason Boltus.
How about this hot take from Brett? Joey Elliott greater than Zach Collaros.
Ouch.
Whew.
Okay,
Man.
I am marking. Yeah, I am marking down. I want to hear your thoughts on it, but we'll leave that for Tuesday. Okay, I'm holding you to that though. I mean,
Bonfire midweek.
I'll give you a half point on
this.
That one.
This is not true. Okay, I don't have any dirt on Drew Willie. I remember talking to Drew when I think it was like right when things were kind of wrapping up in that season, and we knew we wouldn't be back. And I said to him, like, it was just me and him in the elevator leaving the building, and I said to him, like, you're a pro, man. Like, they went through some really, really hard times, and he had to be the voice outside of Mike O'Shea. He had to be the guy to take the heat when the offense wasn't producing, when that offensive line was kind of roughshod. He had that nasty injury. It was a spiral fracture of his leg bone, and then like a I don't know. He had like 3 or 4 breaks in his leg, and then tendon damage and the rest. He was a tough football player. He got battered around really hard in Winnipeg. People should keep that in mind. He put everything on the line. I complimented him on that. He was always a pro, and he played hard. Fans should remember that, and maybe don't look at just the results of the Willie Peg era, and think about what he did. Like, how he laid it all out there for this city, for this market.
You think one more thing on Drew Willie, but we'll hit it up again on Tuesday. You can't give it all away. If he gets better protection in 2014, and we don't have that etch-a-sketch defense which couldn't stop the run. I just seem to remember Drew Willie, if he had time, he was tremendously accurate, especially on the deep ball. I always thought he threw a nice ball, but I don't know.
Well, maybe we can just I'll get it out here.
Okay.
Or we can, let's save it. Let's save it for Bonfire midweek. And if you're out there watching, Tuesdays, 7:30 p.m. This guy, I still got to get that down to my right.
I don't have it. It's the opposite or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, you're not mirrored this time. You and I were mirrored last show.
Whoopsie.
A sharp-eyed viewer sent me a text message on the Bonfire Hotline.
There you go.
816 tips. But love everybody in the live chat. Everybody's having a ton of fun tonight, and why not? The Bombers are 2-0. They scraped together another win over the Ottawa Redblacks. I'm really looking forward to Friday, man. Here's the schedule. You can check that out in the news section of bonfiresports.ca. Chris Walby likes to say this is my whiteout. That's actually like part of it. It's not real whiteout.
But have you marked the scores in there?
I haven't.
Darren.
I got it in my I got it in my notes in my computer, right? But yeah, no, I will. I'll do that. I promise. Look, here. Look what I got. This is the 11-3 2021 season.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that's how I write it all in. But you see, I used to do it kind of like, Commodore 64 word processor with a dot matrix printer. I stepped it up this year and spent way too much time on this baby. But put this on your fridge, write the scores down, and then you can kind of see, oh yeah, remember the last time they're playing Saskatchewan like 4 times this year. That's what remind you what happened in that game, just like that. And then you'll be able to have a little bit more juice in your water cooler conversations with your friends.
I appreciate that. I like juice in the water cooler. Steve Smith is asking about Winston. We already hit Winston, so you gotta listen to the podcast, which Darren gets out really quickly. I'm looking. I know we probably got to wrap it up soon, Darren, but
You can watch on
now
YouTube too after this.
Bonfire,
Like as
yes,
soon as we're done, you can watch from the beginning, or you might be able to rewind right now. But
probably
yeah.
right now. Travis Hrubeniak, I hope I'm not butchering that, is saying we need a bonfire meetup. Maybe tailgate meetup. We should talk.
I would love if you and I got some road game on location situation happening, right? I don't know if it'll happen this year. I
Well,
would
but I
like it
mean
to.
a home game, like pre-game kind of thing.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Like we got 85 people watching live right now. These 85 people could be in your establishment. So if you're out there and you want
Yes,
some Bomber road game action happening at your bar,
yes.
your restaurant, that sort of thing, and you got some good internet, let's go. Let's get Bonfire Sports live on location. I would love that.
We have some feelers out there, actually, Darren. We have some
Well,
feelers, so stay tuned, folks.
speaking of sponsors,
Yes,
huge shout out to our good friends at Maroons Road Apparel. They're awesome. Like great local company, super cool designs. I've been telling everybody about this one. So, like look, it's almost midnight on Friday night. Father's Day is in a matter of hours. I think dad would love this t-shirt. You can also get it on a hoodie. They have got tons of different iconic Winnipeg uh, designs, the famous Fat Boy burger. If you haven't read about the history of the Fat Boy, it's really cool in Winnipeg. I'm not sure where you can find that, but tons of great uh, designs from Maroons Road Apparel. You can check them out, maroonsroadapparel.com. Link to their website in the video description below here on Facebook, on YouTube. Check out our Instagram, bonfire.sports. We've got links to Maroons Road stuff there as well. I love this iconic Winnipeg Stadium design, the old
yeah, it's great.
Canadians, the old, like when I was a kid growing up in St. James, it was like, oh, it's Pac-Man because it was that big yellow, gomp, gomp, gomp. That's just me.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
but like just really, really cool designs. Here's a combo between the stadium and the Winnipeg Arena. They've
Yeah,
got hoodies,
that's great.
t-shirts, hats, toques. They've got paper prints. I don't know if you can see this one behind me here. When we go full screen, maybe people will get a better look at it. But they got prints you can hang up in your office or your home. Great people, local company. Check them out. Maroonsroadapparel.com. If you don't know how to spell it, Google it, like Google Maps. Not only will you know where Polo Park is, you will also know how to get to maroonsroadapparel.com. So yeah, these are the awesome prints they have. Oh my
Whoa,
goodness.
whoa,
That,
whoa! It's late.
that was my autographed Paul Henderson photo.
Oh shoot,
I know. Anyway, how cool is
that's
that?
beauty. I
Right?
get
And you can
me up.
there's the
Ooh,
arena.
nice.
Great people, awesome sponsors we have here on Bonfire Sports. Shout out Maroons Road, Heather, Sid. Love you guys.
Love
Uh,
it.
yeah.
Love it.
So, should the Blue Bombers uh, maybe not betting lines, Zach, but like, how do you see the days leading up to the Hamilton Tiger Cats coming to Winnipeg? Of course, we're going to be looking towards the Ticats and Stampeders playing later this week. Tomorrow night, 6:30 Central. Oh, pardon me. I think that's 6:30 Eastern. So 5:30 here in Winnipeg. Um,
Right.
I'm curious to see how Hamilton looks at home. They didn't look particularly good at all last week. They lost handily 30-13 in Saskatchewan to the Rough Riders. That defense in Saskatchewan's legit.
Yeah.
We'll see how they manage the Calgary Stampeders. But from a Blue Bombers perspective, Zach,
Hmm.
like, is confidence there right now? Where would you maybe grade the confidence on a scale to a 10 or 100 or whatever you want to do?
I think my confidence in them has grown significantly since last week. I think last week we were lucky to take out a win. You had Ackland drop that ball, right?
Mhm.
You had a couple other things go our way. I was quite impressed with the resilience and grit of the Bombers today. I think you saw a few things that you saw some more penalties than you usually have with the Bombers. You saw Winston Rose beat again, but he wasn't. Yeah, let's do that. He wasn't beat on the double move. I think Jeffcoat came in. I think that offense is just gonna. I thought our offense really turned it on in the end of the second quarter and in the second half, and especially the fact that they were able to get the run game going. And Zach Collaros is getting, he's got that connection with Ellingson. He's got that connection now with Schoen. I hope Bailey isn't hurt too bad. It looks like he got his bell rung a little bit, but we don't know.
He was back in the game.
Was he back later? Okay,
Yep.
good to know.
My penalty. Sorry, go ahead. I wanted to touch
go ahead on the penalty. I'll give you a number on the confidence that it's
you set it up. Where's the confidence?
About an 8 out of 10. I think the defense, like the Benbato, they didn't allow a touchdown when Ottawa.
Still giving them an 8.
Yeah, I think I give them an 8. I was super impressed with what they were able to do, and I think you have good coaches that are able to make adjustments. Like until that last drive, Darren, in the second quarter, this team was being owned again. Time of possession, yardage. Listen, I was just super impressed with how they turned that game around and shut Ottawa down.
So this commenter, I'm pretty sure this is Stamkos is better than McDavid, who has now rebranded themselves as Jefferson is better than Jeffcoat. That's hilarious. Huge shout out to whoever you are. That's awesome.
That's good.
Defense confidence is at 100%. Offense for the Blue Bombers at 60. Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at too. I'm not going to let 2 games rewrite my expectations for Zach Collaros. I'm not.
Yeah.
And like I kind of mentioned earlier in the show too, Zach, it's week 2.
Yeah, it's early.
Like the tickle trunk or the book of magic spells or cards in your vest or whatever cliche you want to use. This isn't the entire book. It's 2 games against one team. A back-to-back to start the season. We're probably not going to see too much, but Winnipeg was clutch when they needed to be. They got the job done. The penalties were awful tonight. The mistakes on special teams and on defense, in particular, obviously the mistakes on offense, but when you're suffering some injuries, that'll factor in more. Zach, overall, they got the job done. Good teams find a way to win. And like we said last week here on Game Day After Dark, you got to be lucky to be good, and you got to be good to be lucky. And I think Winnipeg was less fortunate tonight. I think they were more, masters of their own destiny. I
agree.
For lack of a better way of putting it.
Yeah, they earned full dollars for the win tonight, and I was impressed. I was very impressed with the grit. People need to remember that Ottawa looks like a pretty darn good team, and we'll see what they can do against the rest of the East and the West. They look like a darn good team, and the Bombers are on the road, and the Bombers have a lot of new pieces. They have less continuity than they did last year,
right?
Especially on defense. So, listen, I think we need to be patient, but honestly, to come out of a back-to-back against a good Ottawa team, 2-0, I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll be happy to take it. And I'm seeing the chat here. Zach Collaros' winning percentage is unbelievable with the Bombers.
Right.
You take away that meaningless, I believe it was the Calgary game which we lost last year. The end of the season.
And that was a lot of Sean McGuire too, right? But because Zach started,
Sean McGuire and Drew Brown. So I take that one. I think he's 19-1. So maybe someone can correct me, but I believe he's 19-1 with the Bombers, including playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 2 because of that meaningless Calgary game, which he had the credit for starting. Like 19-1.
So like 19-1 that's 20 games. He hasn't played 2. He's barely played 1 full season. Right? Like a regular 18-game schedule. He's played 20 games. He has 2 Grey Cup rings. It's insane.
It's
It's
insane, and
figuratively insane.
it's nuts,
Unbelievable.
and I think I again, I'll speak to what O'Shea said. He said this many years ago: "Quarterbacks are responsible for winning the game." And I like that quote because the numbers might look different one week to another. Ottawa wasn't allowing, big throws, as many big throws as you might get on a BC or something last year. Every defense is different. Buck Pierce is going to tailor the offense to the particular defense. When you win that many times, there's a consistent variable, and it's Zach Collaros, and I think it's his ability, it's his wiliness that and the guts on the guy and the accuracy and in big moment. Again, that turning point, I think, Darren, is fairly obvious. Jeffcoat with the strip sack, which he wasn't credited for. The Bombers are holding on to a 7-point lead, and Zach throws just an absolute beauty on the sideline, drops it right in the bucket, 30 yards to Greg Ellingson. And the guy, Ellingson, was blanketed.
Hmm.
But to
Tarped,
just
if you
be
will.
able to do that and say, "Hey, first play off the turnover, we're backed up." I think with Matt Nichols, you would have seen Lapo play that pretty conservatively.
Mhm.
He would never have thrown a dime, a low percentage throw 30 yards down the field at that point.
Nichols, you mean? Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Nichols. And
Yeah.
I just think it's an absolute beauty to watch Zach Collaros.
No question. The the beauty in Zach Collaros that you're speaking to is because of players like Dalton Schoen and like Greg Ellingson, and we will see Nick Dembski. No, he hasn't been super involved here in the first 2 games, but you know who was one of the biggest fans of Nick Dembski and one of the people that was always mentioned when talking about like the creativity of Paul LaPolice? It was Nick Dembski. So when you're like first 2 weeks of the season, small playbook, the rest,
Yeah.
but you're playing the same opponent that knows how dangerous Nick Dembski could be. He very well, it's hard for us to see on TV or live, at IG Field. Nick Dembski could very well have been used as a decoy for 8 quarters of football against the Red Blacks, like
Totally.
easily. And then tonight, just when the decoy starts wearing off, you see him used a little bit, right? Running in the middle, running, sweeps and the like, catching some passes. So um, football is 3D chess. It might even be
Yeah.
4D chess.
Yeah, it's a
Uh,
good point.
there's a lot going on that we don't see.
And it's
But
hard to predict for that reason, right? Like you go in,
yeah.
you were talking about the Hamilton game. Yeah, and Trevor Thompson, good point. Dembski's fly sweep when he was stacked up in the backfield and to turn that into 12 yards, he basically he made it 15-yard gain because he was backed up by 3. I I I I I don't know. I'll see how Hamilton plays tomorrow. I didn't see a lot from Dane Evans. I think defenses have the book on him. I think the Stamps, even without Bo being healthy, they've got Mayer and they've got an incredibly good defense. They always have a good defense.
Mhm.
What is this? Shorzy was loosely based on.
So like the HBO, the Crave TV series, it's a spin-off of Letterkenny called Shorzy.
Okay.
And the whole concept of it is like their little men's league junior hockey team or whatever it is. Uh, this team will never lose again. We will never lose again. So that's the Zach Collaros story of rural. It's the football version of rural Ohio versus rural Ontario, where Shorzy is based.
Okay. I
But
love that. I love that.
it,
Shorzy.
it's a it's
Well, go
I'm a
ahead.
fan. It's a pretty funny show. I'm a fan.
I've never seen it. Now I gotta watch it. I will pull out
Yeah.
a nerd stat that Zach's only loss with the Bombers when he played last year against the Argos on the back of a back-to-back on the
Mhm.
road. Guess who wasn't playing in that game?
Who?
Nick Dembski.
Mm.
We're getting tinfoil hat here, buddy. I don't know. 19-1 is absolutely nuts. I'm not going to give him 19-2. He's 19-1. My gut feeling, Darren, and I could be proven wrong. It's the CFL. That's the beauty of it. We could see Hamilton come to play tomorrow and beat the Stamps going away. I don't know, but based on what I saw, and granted, Saskatchewan has an exceptional defensive front, as you talked about last time. I didn't see anything in Hamilton that scares me. I right now from what I've
Lo-
seen, and I'm a homer.
I
I
can't
see
wait
the
for tomorrow night.
Bombers. I see the Bombers win that one going away, but I don't know.
I can't wait for tomorrow night because I want to see what Hamilton looks like against a team that isn't defensive coordinated by Jason Shivers.
Jason
When
Shivers.
Chris Jones left Saskatchewan, I'll just tell you, as somebody that watches pretty much every game in the league, okay? Like I'll watch every game. Sometimes I got to watch them on PVR. Sometimes I got to watch it like with the fast forward or whatever. But I watch pretty much all of it. Since Chris Jones left the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Jason Shivers was a defensive assistant there, and he kind of he didn't kind of take over. He did take over the defense. And that first year, he was pretty good. It was like,
Yeah.
wow, okay, he borrowed some Chris Jones concepts, some more traditional ones, that sort of thing. Shivers' defense is good. Then the next year, I was like, wow, it's even better. Like different players, some guys moving around, the ratio changed with Cam Judge and those sorts of things. And then another year, and it's like, wow, Jason Shivers could be the best defensive coordinator in the league. Like he very well may be. He's that good. Saskatchewan, like, Ed Gainey and Nick Marshall and like Derek Moncrief deserves all the praise in the world.
Yeah,
That
you're
guy
big on
is,
Derek Moncrief, eh?
he's unbelievable. He's so good. He's a good football player. They have a lot of big names on that defense. The reason they're getting the recognition, like AC Leonard, he had pretty much a sack a game last season. It's tough when you're in a division with some really, really good defensive ends.
Yeah.
As far as all-star nods and the rest. But and Gamer Gaming 69, I don't totally disagree that Richie Hall is better. His defense has been the best in the league for a long, long time.
Yep.
I'm just saying Jason Shivers as a coordinator himself, neutral talent, neutral team, neutral whatever. I would take a Jason Shivers defense over pretty much everybody else. It's really, I'm really impressed with him. So not putting too much on the Hamilton Tiger Cats, not being able to get too much done in week 1 on the road in Regina. That's just me. But we'll see how things go tomorrow night.
It'd be fun to watch, man. And
at
it's
home
always
to
fun to
Calgary.
watch the rest of the weekend's games when your team has already won. I'll say that as a Bombers fan. It's just you get to bask in the glow of a win, and it's just it's gravy, right? You can say, oh, how are the other guys doing? Oh yeah, we won. Yeah, baby. I love the win tonight, Darren. I know we probably got to put a bow on it because we're almost at that 2-hour mark.
Yeah.
But
Good though.
I'll tell you, I was super, super impressed with the win. And it was a gutsy win. And I think you talked about mentally with Mark Leggio, Darren. I think mentally when you're getting owned in the first half on the road, especially on a back-to-back, it's easy to fold up the tent and just say, you know what? Let's give them this one. It's not our day today. And that's just not the way O'Shea coaches these guys.
No,
And it's not
no.
the way they coach themselves. And they're tenacious as hell.
Yeah.
They are tenacious as hell. And
I remember
I love it. I love this team for
well,
that.
it's an easy team to love. I
Yeah.
remember Mike O'Shea talking early in the 2019 season when things were kind of up and down a little bit. I can't specifically remember when. But we got them, like they did finish 3rd in the West that year on their way to a championship. And Mike O'Shea was talking about things not looking good on the field and the energy being low. And, he was answering questions after the game, like, the body language wasn't good. And, the energy was low and you weren't able, that sort of thing. And he said, I looked down the bench and nobody was hanging their head. Nobody was taking pity on themselves that the Bombers were losing. And that's why they put everything on the line for their teammates, for their coach, for their coaches. They're never out of the game. So, like if it's a 9-1 football game or a 9-7 football, whatever it is, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You go out, you go into halftime, you do your job. You don't worry about the score. It's, we're 0-0 every week. We're trying to get to 1-0. That's like the Mike O'Shea mantra every single week. Well, every single play on the field, the score is 0-0. That's all. That's the way they look at it.
That's the way they look at it. And as a fan watching, and this is new for me as a Bomber fan. I will say this, but even when they're down 9-1 or down by 12 in the Grey Cup, I think I tell me what you think, Chattersons, but Chattersons. I think
Come on, let's be serious
no,
for a second here.
no, they're the masters. Love those guys. I think even if the momentum is all on Ottawa's side, I still have confidence, and I'm not surprised when they come back and they not even pull it out of the fire. I was going to say that, Darren, but when they just find a way, and I think there's this zen like sort of. I don't want to get too deep as a therapist, Zach, but in mindfulness, it's like every moment is a unique moment. And I don't know if Mike O'Shea is a mindfulness person. I suspect he isn't. But there is a zen of Mike O'Shea, and that he doesn't get too high, he doesn't get too low.
He'll never admit it or
Every
talk about it.
every play is 0-0. I
Yep.
love what you said there. And I
Mhm.
think that's how he coaches the guys. And I think when every play is fresh and every play is an opportunity to take over the game, you don't get caught up in the mental load of like, oh, we're down. It's going to take so much to come back.
Right.
And you saw Lapo, who hasn't proven. I love Lapo, but he hasn't proven to people. Everybody I talked to, he hasn't proven to people that he's head coach material. You saw him lose his mind on the sideline. Like he got very upset, and you
Well, he
don't
didn't
see
like a call.
that. That's fair.
You do see that in O'Shea if he doesn't like a call.
Not
You
very
do.
often, though.
Maybe.
Well, we'll have to think about that. I haven't seen like you
We can
see
talk
it,
about it
but
on Bonfire midweek, Tuesday night, 7:30.
Bonfire midweek. Yeah. Should we wrap up with our Walby's Warrior, Happy Honker, and
Oh
what was the other
boy.
one we did last one?
I can't remember. I
We
just
had
wanted to
Happy Honker,
mention it,
Walby's Warrior.
Mark Morissette, if you missed anything, podcast will be up very soon. You can watch again on YouTube or on Facebook. And it was Transcona Paul.
Yeah,
Transcona Paul, he says, late and liked again, boys. I hope he doesn't mean licked, like he's licked. That's kind of a colloquial term for maybe being a little lubricated, but
that's
he's
okay.
doing what we need you all to do out there. Give us a like. If you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe. You can ring the little bell. Once you subscribe, a little bell appears. If you click that bell, you'll get alerted every time we go live here on Bonfire Sports. So pregame, postgame, Bonfire midweek, Tuesday nights at 7:30. And then there's a lot of other cool stuff we put up on the channel, right? Like I had a one-on-one conversation. We went live this week with Paul LaPolice. I got a piece up right now. The audio got a little screwy, but awesome 2-on-1 with Brady and Johnny, Oliveira and Augustine, and having them compare each other, like describe each other as a football player, and just great
Yeah,
elicited answers, great energy between those two. They like each other a lot. It was a fun interview to do, and I'm
yeah.
sure
I'm
people will
looking
have
forward to
fun
that one.
watching it. But yeah, the podcasts, the videos, like, subscribe, do everything you can to support us here, and we'll keep creating this great free content for you guys here on Bonfire.
All right. Well, let's do it. Well, let's do it quick. Walby's Warrior for me. I think this is something that we saw a lot of on the chat. It's Jeff Code. He
Mm,
steps in, basically causes two forced fumbles. He was an absolute. He gets that sack, which was a great hustle sack on his part. Happy honker for me. Actually, I'll go off the board here a little bit. Is Chris Kolinkowski? You come in
ooh,
as a
nice.
backup center on that crucial drive when they're down 9-1. He comes on the red zone first play. As you said, pass protection is harder. It's passive, right? You're reacting, and they get the touchdown. And Zach had to buy a little bit of time there. So shout out to Kolinkowski. I think that's Mike O'Shea always says any of our guys can start, and we know sometimes to scoff at that a little bit, but hey, you show it there with Kolinkowski. I think I'm going to throw in a turning point of the game. I'm not going to call it the TSN turning point. We'll think of our own. Maybe when the bonfire got lit was that Jefferson strip sack on Masoli on third down, deep in Bomber territory, up by a touchdown,
Yeah.
and then Collaros just rips one like he doesn't care. Collaros doesn't care. He
No,
doesn't care if we're sitting on our hands and we're nervous. He's like,
he's got
screw
the
this. I'm gonna
cojones, man.
game. I love it. He sees a wall and he just runs through it. Just love it. And he throws an absolute dime 30 yards into a tight window with a DB all over Ellingson. Love that connection with him and Ellingson. I think that's going to be
Yeah.
magic all year. And then Westwood's wide to the right for me, Darren, actually kind of goes. And by the way, someone said Schoen had a little bit of a headshot. I didn't see that.
He took a hit. I don't know if it was a
He took a
headshot,
hit.
but yeah.
The Westwood's right to the right was that call. I'm not sure which DB it was. Was it Randall Evans? I'm not sure on Bailey. And just
Oh yeah.
I get it doesn't look good. It gets a hit to the head. I know Gregory's really tough on the headshots, and I appreciate that. But I just don't think it's fair to the DB on a bang bang play when these guys are going full speed. I just don't think it's fair because you can't avoid that. I'm not talking about Simone Lawrence where he could have avoided smoking Cody Fajardo in that play. Was it Money Hunter Waiters 27 is saying, I don't know how you avoid that. And then if you penalize that all the time, Darren, DB's gonna do, right? You're almost walking on eggshells, and we don't want to see that in the CFL. So that's my Westwood's wide to the right.
So you just banged him out. Like, here's your Walby's Warrior. Here's your what was the second one? Your Westwood wide to the right.
Happy Honker was Colin
Happy
Kowski.
Honker. Okay.
Well, I don't know if people have an appetite to go much longer.
Okay, so
than
you got
2 hours.
you got clearly they do. We still got
I guess they do. Maybe I should have.
dozens of people. It's Friday night. It's not even midnight. I'm just
It's
I'm
true.
just getting my wind going here.
You are.
I'm kidding. Okay, so you got Chris Kolinkowski as your warrior stepping into center.
No. Jeff Coat
Oh.
is the warrior. Happy Honker is Kolinkowski. Turning point is Jeff Coat strip. Colaros rip. Westwood's wide to the right is that flag on it looks like it was Money Hunter. Thanks,
Okay.
Waiters 27. Yeah.
I'll quickly rip through mine. I won't speak to each. You set me up. What am I picking first?
Walby's warrior.
Dietrich Nichols.
Of course.
Honorable mention to Dalton Schoen. But Dietrich Nichols was my warrior tonight. He was a absolute beast. Or as young football players say these days, he was a dog tonight. He was. Yeah.
Darren, can I ask you, do you see him going to the NFL next year if he continues to play like this? Is he young enough? I think he is.
The age is everything, right? Like if you're 28, 28's kind of almost too old now.
Yeah.
Like that's when Big Hill got released from the Saints. He was 28, 29. That was it.
Right.
You know, Willie Jefferson probably aged out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
He is
He's been
28.
he's been good in 2 leagues now.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my warrior. My happy honker. My happy honker will go to Greg Ellingson. Who wouldn't be more happy? 2 games, 2 touchdowns.
Yep. 140
Right?
yards combined or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think he's taken the happy honker from me. What's next?
Turning point. I mean, that's hard to argue the turning point. Maybe you have something different.
Well, no, I'll say the turning point was Ellingson's touchdown. Winnipeg's first touchdown of the game. I just think was the little spark that they needed. Or how about Johnny Augustine? Because I have him written down here. He was the spark plug.
Yep.
Like what an injection of energy, a shot to the arm when he comes into the game. I thought that was awesome. And then final one. Oh, wide to the right.
Wide to the right.
People out there worried about this football team. There's no reason to be super, super concerned. Like, oh, I'm worried. Like,
yeah, that's
reading my Twitter mentions during the game. Like, people are like, oh, the secondary is getting torched and the kicking game can't do it. And Zach Collaros the offense is flat and there's no run game. And hang on. Okay. Like, it's week 2. They're 2-0. They're finding ways to win. They've played one team. We'll see. I think they're a good football club. I think fans will be okay.
I would love to see a West final in Mosaic or
Oh
in
yeah.
IG between the Riders and the Blues. The Riders are looking good, but anyway, that was just one game too, so we'll see. The other thing I'm going to be looking for as we wrap it up, Darren, is what is going to happen with Oliveira and Augustine? Because you're looking at a lot of you're noticing a lot of people in the chat and on Twitter saying, why isn't Augustine starting? I trust Buck Pierce. I get when you look at it on the page and you look at average, even tonight, it was much better than Oliveira's.
Yep.
But I just trust Buck Pierce and that staff, and what they're doing is working, and they're doing it for a reason. Just interesting to see what happens in terms of who starts and how they rotate those guys in. Sorry, I shouldn't have said a West Final in Regina. That was heresy. I mean, a West Final in IG Field between the Riders and Bombers. Winner plays Ottawa. I think we might see Ottawa there, man.
Whew, really?
Yeah, they looked really good, but it's so early. I don't know, man. I just think Masoli is playing at another level right now, and he's easily the best quarterback in the East.
As far as no, I agree with you there. He's easily
Yeah.
the best quarterback in the East. I think Hamilton made the wrong choice in going with Dane Evans. But when it comes to Brady and Johnny, there is something they mentioned to me. Excuse me. There's something they mentioned to me in my 2-on-1 that you can find on our YouTube page. Go check it out. It was a fun interview. I don't want to give it away, but go there and find out what they say about themselves as a duo. And it's not just like them playing off each other, motivating each other. There is an actual like physical element that makes sense. When you hear them say it, you'll be like, right. Because the Blue Bombers had to replace Andrew Harris, or they had to find a replacement for Andrew Harris. You're never going to replace someone like him. How do you do that? You got to go find another unicorn? No. You're going to get two horses that can pull the wagon. And that's what the Blue Bombers did. So go check out that interview on YouTube right now.
Darren,
I don't know if I podcasted it.
I don't know if you did. You should. I haven't had.
We got to podcast this one because we should probably wrap it up. We're over 2 hours.
Well, and people are really hitting the cap lock now. It's people are trying to yell here. No, definitely.
Arms in the chat. What's going on?
I think that was a solid metaphor, and I think you get the last word there. I don't want to add anything. That was masterful with the unicorn and the two horses. I think, Darren, it would be interesting to see you go like all night, because I feel like it would be like Andrew Harris getting into the
We can do that for charity one time.
You just get going, buddy. I love it. You get better as we go on. I maybe start to fade and start to think, crap, those kids are going to wake up soon. But
you're Bonfire Sports resident father. You got little ones running around the house.
Right here.
You have a busy partner and a busy wife and busy life, busy house. You're allowed to be tired. Okay. I watch and talk about football for a living. So
we love it. We love it. And we love the fans here and the listeners. And I'll say this, Karen.
Guys are awesome. Awesome in the live chat.
I just want to say this. When I was a fan, and I'm still a fan, but when I didn't have a podcast going and I was looking for content, this is exactly what I would have listened to. I would have loved it. I would have loved to be on the chat. And I just want to give a shout out to the listeners, because that's why we do it.
Yes.
We love to hear ourselves talk, and you and I would probably talk anyway about football 4 hours a week. But it's if fans are enjoying it, and it's helping you enjoy the Bombers, the team that you love even more, and football more, that's awesome. That's all we want. And I think if anyone has any feedback too, like if there's things you'd like to see more of or less of, if you want to see me shave or you want to see Darren shave, but honestly, content wise, hit the tip. If there's things that you want us to get to, tell us ahead of time, and we'll try and get to it. It's for you guys. It's for us, but it's for you. And
people need to know this,
I'm just having a blast, man.
Well, me too. And I can tell you're having a blast. The energy you bring is awesome, Zach. People need to know this, because I've been asked this since you and I started these shows, doing the post game together and doing Bonfire midweek on Tuesdays. They go like, how did you two get linked up? Like, my mom asked me that. I'm like, Mom,
Oh,
we talked
really?
about it in the first episode. She listens. She watches them all, you know. You called me.
Yeah.
Zach called me and said, I want my Let's Go Bombers podcast on the air. You demanded. No, I'm kidding. We had a great conversation. We struck up a friendship. And now, you know, I think you and I have the same MO. Not Mike O'Shea,
Uh-huh. Oh,
but
good one.
mission objective. Or you can use the Latin term too if you're smarter than I. We have the same MO. Create quality content for you out there. Every single one of you, each and every one. Your input matters. Your voice
Mhm.
matters. We want
Absolutely.
you to be involved in the show. So
Yep.
hit up the live chat. That's why I set up the text line. Like, call it, text it, tweet at us, Facebook message, whatever. Like, subscribe, do all those things, support it, and then we'll be able to keep doing it for you. And you know, maybe, hey, if you're a sponsor out there, you see
Mhm.
how many people are watching and are engaged in the show. We can help you get your message out. So hit up the hotline or email me or do whatever you need to do to do that. But okay, let's wrap it up. We're literally at 2:15 now, so we're
Oh,
officially past our
goodness.
quota for next week. But final thoughts, Zach?
Well, I just the team impressed the heck out of me tonight. I know I sent you a panic text in the first half. I'm like, this is ugly. And you're like,
Hey,
calm down, calm
relax.
down. And I, I'm just, it's a whether they win or lose, honestly. And it's of course it's amazing when they win as a fan, but to see the guts on the team and the resilience, I think fans, I encourage you or invite you to really savor what you're watching because you could see this team go for a three-peat. And I think if they win this year, and I'm getting way ahead of myself, or even if they're successful this year,
Mhm.
it's almost more impressive than the first two because of all the changeover and all the pressure on them. I
Mhm.
just think they do things the right way, and over time, that produces the results. You're not necessarily gonna see a Grey Cup again this year. Lots can happen in a CFL season,
Yep.
but boy, am I stoked, to use a bonfire metaphor, to keep watching this team win or lose. And my last thing is you're getting a lot of pokes about this green shirt, Darren. So you might need to read.
That's
People have
okay.
even threatened to unsubscribe. So I don't know, man.
There's no logos. No logos. Nothing.
Doesn't
Nothing.
matter.
There's no
Doesn't
logo.
matter.
Shirt is comfy. Green goes with brown. I got brown eyes. That's what I've been told. I don't know.
Green goes with brown. Is that a thing?
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
I think
Oh,
you just
green
made
goes with
that up.
brown. Well, you know, there's a rider joke in there. I think people can decipher pretty quickly.
Ah, very good. I didn't miss
But
that. I
we'll
missed that.
leave it there. We'll see everybody back here Tuesday, 7:30 Central. Zach and I will go live with another edition of our weekly show, Bonfire Midweek. Until then, enjoy, hit like and subscribe. We appreciate it a lot. We appreciate all of you out there. Thanks for watching. Bombers win again. They're 2-0, 19-12, your final score in Ottawa tonight. Good night.
Good night, everyone.